person missing, and we're gonna shout out to the stream, Daniel Berry Sports. How you doing? You got any questions for us? We only got one person in the stream.
Hey, Sergeant Schultz in the chat. Nice to talk to you, even though you're right next to me.
Yes.
M3 in the chat. Nice to talk to you as well, even though you're also right next to me. And Digital Caveman also right next to me. TK Deba, finally someone not on the stream in the chat. Nice to hear from you, TK Deba.
Yes.
Yes, I am the Prophet Director, as some of you already know. And Curtis and I will be the hosts of the show this evening. We are going to be ranking all of our top 10 movies from 1981. You can find me on the Prophet Director's channel, soon to just be the Prophet Director, and PD Destro 1973 on Instagram. M3, why don't you tell everybody who you are?
My name is M3, aka M3. I'm over here just sitting down and listening to y'all, and it's good conversations that I have with you guys. I just want to cry. I just love it. Last night was great.
Right, your demon lolly makes me want to cry. Ed, how about you? What about you? What have you got to say for us?
I'm awake. We were on late last night, so
don't ask me
finally awake. Yeah, I got a lot to say, but I won't. I'm glad
where
to be here.
Where can they find you? How about where they can find you?
You'll see it in the chat. It is youtube.com/@GeekHomeworld4248, and on all the other social media, it's Geek Home World. We talk film, TV, and tech on my podcast, so check us out. Like, share, and subscribe.
And Digital Caveman, how about you, my friend?
You can find me at youtube.com/@digitalcaveman, just like it's spelled on the screen. And you can also find me on Instagram @digitalcaveman, just like on the screen there, except it's a lowercase d.
Fantastic. And Digital does amazing action figure reviews. Very articulate, unlike all the people who say 5 million times in each of their videos. We're gonna start talking about 1981 here. Why don't we start a little bit with some Oh wait, I'm sorry, Curtis has got some more to say.
Yeah, I want to get some shout outs to Pack and Bullwinkle and our whole entire Banger Society. We're growing, we're getting bigger. Kaz, Bruce, everybody, Raw Talk, New Soundwave, everybody. So shout out, and shout out.
Nice. Well, 1981, pretty good year. Well, pretty bad year for some, like Ronald Reagan, who got shot in the ass, and Pope John Paul II, who got shot. A few people getting shot. The Space Shuttle Challenger was launched for the first time the Space Shuttle Columbia was launched for the first time that year. Unlike the Challenger, it wouldn't have its tragedy until 2005. Let's see what else. MTV started went on air for the first time in 81 with its first music video being Video Killed the Radio Star from the Buggles. And another little interesting thing in politics, Ronald Reagan passed a law that made it illegal for government workers to go on strike thanks to air traffic controllers refusing to come to work and causing some plane crashes. Other than that, on a very somber note, that was the year that AIDS was discovered and started wreaking havoc. Anybody else got anything to add for 1981 in terms of the news?
I'm not hearing anything but one. I'm not hearing anything.
All right, Ed can't hear us. Anyone else?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
No, I'm hearing fine. Ed, are you not hearing anything?
I believe 1981 was the end of the Muppet Show too, right?
I think it might have been.
I cannot hear anything.
The Muppet Show.
All right. Well, I'm sure Ed will be back when he figures out his technical difficulties.
Hey.
Moving on to sports then. In 1981, the Super Bowl The Oakland Raiders took down the Philadelphia Eagles. The Stanley Cup championship was let's see, who do we got here? The New York Islanders took down the Minnesota North Stars. I don't remember that at all. However, the one thing that I was paying very close attention to was the Boston Celtics just barely dominating the Houston Rockets. And the World Series. Did anybody watch the World Series in 1981? Because it was kind of historic. The Los Angeles Dodgers had beat the New York Yankees for the first time since they moved away from New York themselves. And that's pretty much all I've got to say about sports. Anyone want to add anything to that? All right.
I'm not much of a sports guy, so.
Yeah, I'm not much of one either,
Same
as you
here.
can tell by some of the pauses I had to make to look things up.
I'm a sports guy, but I don't remember what the hell happened in 1981.
Well, you were like 6 years old, right? So it doesn't really.
7.
Well, moving on to stuff that
Yeah.
we probably do know a little bit more about. The top of the charts that year. You know, Juice Newton lured everybody into feeling safe with her with Angel of the Morning, and then ridiculed them for it with Queen of Hearts and a few months later.
Yes.
The Commodores put out Lady. Kim Carnes made Betty Davis Eyes. Very, very famous song.
Yes.
Lionel Richie and Diana Ross had their Endless Love. Queen teamed up with David Bowie to get Under Pressure.
Ding, 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 ding.
No, ours goes tink.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a lot of good music in 1981. Air Supply told you that you were the one that they loved. Journey, Couldn't Stop Believing. You know, lots of fun stuff. Lots of good music in 1981. Anybody else got anything to add in the way of music?
No, it was just great music.
Yeah, the 80s
He
as a
were the best.
decade just full
Still
of great music.
influential.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like 80s music, you know, 80s, the 80s really did change music, like altogether. You know,
Synthesizers.
but every decade can claim the same thing, you know, but not every decade has music that sticks around long term, right?
Yeah, that's
Like,
That's right.
Yep.
you know, who remembers disco nowadays, right? You
Well,
know, you see
if
80s
it's outside-
music
Well,
everywhere.
Outside of the
The
Bee
Bee
Gees,
Gees.
probably not a lot, but
Right.
still
Well,
relevant,
you could
though.
say like the Bee Gees and ABBA. They're more like, you know, they kind of cross over into the pop category as well. You know.
yeah.
Well, this is the
Um,
King Pop, yeah.
and don't forget Kisses. I Was Made for Loving You.
I
Well,
think
not
that's
so much when
right,
you're their
right.
age.
isn't that when the British takeover was actually getting ready to get started?
83 to 84, you had like Culture Club, and then you have Duran
Yeah.
Duran, which was like the second British invasion. Yeah, all those
Yeah,
tech
it had-
pop bands.
Yeah, Tears for Fears as well.
Oh, British
Yeah,
invasion.
85.
From
Yeah.
what I understand, there weren't a lot of American artists that they were wanting to give airtime to, but like Britain had this
Well,
big
a lot of
surge of
it-
talent
We were going
right around
from
that time, and so they
like-
imported it in.
we kind of went from Boston and all the album rock of the 70s, which is great music, still holds up, into bands trying to jump on the MTV wave that was starting in, I think, 81. MTV
Yeah, and that
started.
had-
So,
That had a lot to do with it too.
and if you weren't, a lot of these American bands were older bands and they weren't photogenic and they had to learn to do videos. And, you know, bands like Dire Straits, no, they weren't really terribly at the forefront of popularity till they hit in 85 with I Want My MTV Money for
Oh
Nothing.
yeah, man. Those
Brothers
a
in
lot
Arms.
of those early videos were just like, You know,
they were bad.
oh, so bad, so bad.
Hall
Oh,
and
Uh,
Oates.
They were in a white room, and the band was playing and
Yeah.
dancing around, and horseplay.
Or they
and
would do
that was
like the
it.
split screening where they would
Yeah.
layer the screens like cubes over everything.
Oh, like
terrible.
Tony Basil.
Yeah, but then you had like Hall
Tony!
like Hall and Oates. They hated their videos, but they're so 80s because they're very cheesy and really bad production. But nobody knew anything.
like,
it was a new medium.
Where the kids
Like a great example would be Heat of the Moment. Like that
Asia.
music
Oh my
video.
God, yeah.
It's literally just like they dropped like little screens, like 9 little screens over and over again, and just repeated it
Oh yeah.
the entire time.
That
It's
was
terrible. Just terrible.
So, well, it is now, but it wasn't at the time. It was like everything was new then. Everything was new in the video production.
Yeah, and then
Well, they said the Buggles said that video killed the radio star, but I wholeheartedly disagree because a friend of mine, Sam Newsman, has been the most trusted puppet in media since Roswell. So, he's still going strong on the radio today. So we don't even actually earlier today.
Shout out Stan.
Well, in their case, it was true.
Yeah, in their case, sure. And now it's like what do they call it? You got it in your car instead of AM FM. It's like what is it called? It's in my fucking
satellite radio.
Yeah, like XM radio, that sort of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, video might have killed the DJ, but it definitely didn't hurt music overall.
No.
If anything, it helped. Moving on to television.
I disagree with that.
A lot of very interesting television shows started up in 1981. The BBC had Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The Fall Guy, started that year, along with The Greatest American Hero. Believe it or not, he was walking on air. The primetime soap opera began with like Falcon Crest and Dynasty.
Oh, yeah.
In cartoons, you had the Smurfs, Spider-Man and his amazing friends,
The
Danger Mouse.
I'm sorry, Prophet, but I just anytime Spider-Man and his amazing friends comes up, I have to say that's the gateway drug to the Marvel universe. At least for our generation.
Well, for me, it was X-Men comic books, but that's that's cool. The crime drama got Hill Street Blues. The Westerns got Maverick. And then anime finally started coming to America with like Rana, and I believe Speed Racer was still on the air, but it wasn't new that year. But yeah, anybody got any television shows they want to bring up other than that? And also World Class Championship Wrestling, WCCW.
Yes.
Was the only wrestling we could get on television at the time.
Woo! You said anime, and I don't know if this actually applies to 81. It might have applied to more to 80, but the only thing I can think of that was anime that was on in my area was Battle of the Planets or G-Force. Depending on where you were, what it was.
Yes.
That's
right. Well, it was Battle for the Planets in Japan. It was G-Force here in America.
So, but I watched the crap out of that.
Oh, that was my show. That was my jam. Battle of the Planets.
I love it when they all made the the human tornado.
Showtime back then too had like a half hour of anime like robot series. I forgot what they were called. But there would be like 2 of them for like 15 minutes a piece, from like 3:30 to 4. I'd be watching that.
Nice. All right.
And
so
we also had. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Night
If you've
Flight.
got still more to talk about TV, go right ahead.
Just one. Y'all remember Night Flight? That started that year. It ran to like 2018, but I remember it through the 80s. But they played a lot of like videos and stuff. Because you had
Never
like
heard
Friday
of
night videos. Everybody was getting a video show. You never heard of Night Flight on USA Network? Oh my
Never.
gosh.
What year did the Duke Boys stop?
Well, that was 80. That was 1980. They went on till I believe like 85 or 86.
That sounds
I don't
about
remember.
right. But of course, after the first 3 or 4 seasons, John Schneider and crap, I can't think of Luke Duke's name, but they left the show and they were replaced by their knockoff cousins.
Yeah, and then it didn't last too much.
Yeah.
But I remember
You
that.
can't,
I left
it's hard to replace it.
Detroit in '82, and I never saw it again besides maybe reruns.
Well, if you've seen one episode of the Duke Boys, you've seen them all.
You're right.
You've
It's
seen them
just
all.
like it's just like any Looney Tunes cartoon. They're all the
Right,
exact same
right.
plot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're implementing a couple of new rules tonight. To keep things shorter, we're implementing a time limit. So if someone's been on for too long or someone's rambling too much, you'll hear this. Which is just, a nice little fart noise to let people know they're stinking up the joint. So with that in mind, if someone picked the film, they'll get 2 minutes. If it's not a film that you picked, you'll only get 1 minute to talk about it. And we'll be moving on. There won't be any long-winded, it'll be like the Oscars. We'll play them off with a nice little fart. But, Curtis, I've got the screen shared there if you want to start up the slideshow. And we can get started with the very first movie.
Okay. I think Moto Frank's about to pop in here in a minute.
Awesome. All right. So, yeah, this is just our thumbnail. I'll get past that. All right. So the very first film, this was only picked by Digital Caveman. It's Zorro the Happy Blade. George Hamilton was very happy
not
with
the
his
name.
spray tan in this film.
Yes, he was.
Digital, this is your pick. Why don't you give us a few words on it?
Okay. And I don't know that I can spend two minutes on it, but basically it starts out kind of like your classic Zorro movie, but then Zorro gets injured, so he calls up his cousin who happens to be like really happy. And he becomes Zorro. He fills in as Zorro, but he does it in these really flamboyant costumes, and it's just one of those movies you have to watch it. And people, generations today, like millennials and Z and Alpha, whatever, they may not appreciate this movie, but it's comedy. And that's how you have to take it. So, some people might find it offensive. I thought it was hilarious, and I saw this in the theater when I was a kid, and I didn't understand exactly what it, what they meant when they were saying happy. But all I knew is like he dressed up in these costumes, and it was funny. And nice. I will say I've only found this movie on DVD once, and that's been a few years, it's been many years ago now, but if you get the chance to watch it, give it a watch. You might think it's hilarious, you might not, but I thought it was funny.
Hello?
Yeah, I've only seen this movie once, and I think you're wrong about Gen Z. I think they would actually like it. I think they'd get some good outfit ideas for the alphabet community. To me, a grown man in high heel boots is just not for me. Curtis, I'm going to pass it on to you.
Yeah, I remember seeing it on cable, watching it with my grandparents. But I don't remember too much of it. I just remember bits and parts here. But I believe I did see that it's on YouTube for free to watch if you want to do that.
Nice. I'm sorry, you're not done.
No, I said that's all I have.
Oh, don't leave such a big pause, man. M3, anything to say about Zorro the Happy Blade?
I've actually, excuse me, I've never even heard of it. Except I've heard of Zorro, but not that one in particular. So I'll let this one go. What's up, Moto?
All
What up,
right. Ed, you have anything on Zorro the Gay Blade?
Thank you for saying that because we don't hold anything back here. We tell the truth, whether it hurts or not. And it's called Zorro the Gay Blade. And you have to take it in the context of the 80s. The films were different. There was a different sensibility. So please don't bring your 2024 here and think you can cancel, because it doesn't work that way. You have to take stuff in the time it was created. And the films back then were funny and zany. And back then, you say something's gay, that was actually going way back to a gay old time. A lot of the serials way back into the 20s and 30s, and gay meant a different thing back then. So it doesn't mean like you're being it wasn't a derogatory term necessarily. So in your 2024 eyes, don't mistake it, okay? Don't get it twisted, as they say, right? So anyway, it was a fun film, and you have to take it for the time it was made in. I remember it being a hilarious film. I don't remember it too much now, but it was just like if you had HBO back in the day, or any of the 3 stations that were out, you eventually saw this film. It came on, and yeah, it may not be politically correct now, but it was never really poking fun in a mean, derogatory way. It was all in jest, all in fun, like a jester, a joker would do. So those are my thoughts. It's a good film.
Nice,
Enjoy
nice. Yeah, I mean, if they want to cancel it, go right ahead. I'm sure George Hamilton won't mind, seeing as he's passed on a long time ago. Moto Viper, anything to say on Zorro the Gay Blade? And please introduce yourself to the crowd, since you were a little bit late.
Hey, I am Motor Viper. Sorry I was late, dealing with life. Life gets in the way sometimes, but I'm here. Stoked to be here, and we're talking about the time of 1981 when I was known as Junior, and I was 9 years old. So this is going to be a little flashback in time of what Frankie was into, and when he was 9 years old. And as far as the Zorro, yeah, you're absolutely right. Never seen it in a theater, but when it was on cable, it seemed like it was on all the time. Going in and out of the house to get a tortilla or grab something to drink. It seems like that show was always on in the background.
Nice. All right. Well, the Zorro only had 1 vote, so Zorro gets a rank of D. Moving on, I'm the only one that picked this film. This was Chevy Chase in Modern Problems. So basically this is a story of a man who's trapped behind a toxic waste truck, and the truck starts spewing toxic waste and he can't close his sunroof. So after walking into his house glowing bright green, he discovers that he has telekinetic powers. And the first thing he does with them is give his girlfriend an orgasm while he's in the other room cooking dinner. He goes on to do a bunch of crazy shit and solve a bunch of people's problems with his telekinesis, and winds up giving his powers away to the maid later in the film. But this movie is absolutely hilarious. It's one of my favorite Chevy Chase films of all time. And I will pass this on to Moto Viper. Have you ever seen this film?
No, I know I have, but I can't remember a single thing about it, unfortunately.
All right. Well, that was easy. I didn't have to even come near your 1 minute mark. Ed, how about you?
Let's see. The equivalent of giving a woman an orgasm in 1981 in 2024 terms is taking the trash out, maybe cooking dinner. So it all equates. I vaguely remember this film, and I remember it being funny to 11-year-old me, though I probably didn't understand half what was in it, But it's a good, fun film. It's back when Chevy Chase was still funny to me.
Indeed. Digital, how about you, sir?
Yeah, I know I've seen this. I have vague memories of him behind the truck and the stuff getting in through the sunroof, and he's getting covered with it and spitting it out, and that's about all I remember of it.
All right. Well, honestly, folks, this movie's great. If you get a chance to see it, just watch it. You won't be disappointed. M3, have you ever seen this movie? And if not, just go ahead and say hi to the people who are new in the chat for us.
Hey, I have not seen this, but what's up to Casual Toy Collector? You missed a good night last night after your stream was great, and then we came back over. But what's up, OG Skywatch? Geek. Oh, excuse me. It's OG Skywatch on my end. At Shadow Slick, Goku Black, TKD Bar, and us. But yeah, I think was Destiny or B in here somewhere. Maybe.
Yeah, B's in there. She's there.
Maybe, and that's all I got. Thanks, Prophet.
Nice. Curtis, how about you?
I have vague memories of it. I did look, and I was going to watch it again, but I didn't get enough time to. But it is on YouTube for free.
Nice.
For free. So if you want to watch it, it's on YouTube.
Nice.
There you go, folks. If you're interested in seeing one of Chevy Chase's funniest films, it's on YouTube for free. But as I am the only person who picked this film, it gets a rank of D. Moving on. This is a film that was picked only by Ed, which honestly, if we were ranking these films based on their quality alone and not our personal biases, this probably would have been much higher on the list because it is an amazing film.
Yeah.
Right.
Ed, why don't you tell us about On Golden Pond?
Well, okay, but I thought we agreed that I kicked this out for another film, but I'll talk on it anyway. On my list. Sorry to put you on the spot there, but remember I kicked this out.
Last time I checked, this was still in your list.
No, well, I got it right here. I kicked it out for Clash of the Titans. Oops, spoiler alert. But that's okay. I'll talk about On Golden Pond. This is a great film. It actually came on TV the other day, and I caught the tail end of it. And it's a great father and daughter story. It's got Jane Fonda in it, and it starred her dad, Henry Fonda, who is very upper part of his age, or whatever. He was very aged. He was old at that time. I don't know how to say it. And he's really grumpy, and he's got to bring Dabney Coleman's in it. And if you know anything about the 80s, Dabney Coleman was in a lot of great films like 9 to 5 and probably many others I can't think of right now. But
he was in Modern Problems.
Was he in Modern Problems?
Yeah,
Well, that's a good segue. And anyway, so they it's just about different generations learning to get along and appreciate each other. Katharine Hepburn gives one of the best performances of her career. Almost every scene she's in, she steals it. She was such a great actress, and I just challenge you to just take some time, get some of your family together, even some of your estranged family, and I dare you to watch it without shedding a few tears here and there. So On Golden Pond, check it out.
All right, Digital. How about you, man? Anything to say about On Golden Pond?
I remember this coming on HBO when I was at my grandparents' house, and I remember watching it, and I remember it was like old people on a pond, and that's about all I remember about it. But I know it was a great film. I know it won like Oscar this and Oscar that and Oscar the Grouch, but
well, it got some nominations.
But that's really all I remember of it.
All right, M3, do you know anything about On Golden Pond?
I think we watched it in like 5th grade in like class, but I'm gonna say no. I don't remember anything about it.
All right, well then we'll move on. I do remember this film very fondly. As a child,
You forgot.
I watched this.
You forgot.
Well, we're
Curtis.
getting to you, man. We're bouncing
I'm sorry.
around because Digital asked us to bounce around, man.
I'm sorry, my bad. I apologize.
So I saw this movie as a kid, and I was thinking when it started, I'm gonna be bored out of my mind. But by the time it was over, I had loved it and could not understand why I did. I'm like, what the hell about this movie made me love it? But it is an amazing film, and it almost made my list. Katharine Hepburn, like Ed said, one of the best performances of her entire career. And yes, OG Skywatch, Jane Fonda was very, very attractive. All right, Curtis, what do you got to say about it?
Yeah, I remember watching it when it came out on HBO. It was like the big neighborhood talk, and my grandparents watched it, and every husband and wife down the street seemed like they watched it. I watched it, and at first I was bored but then I sat down and actually watched it one time at nighttime, just before bed, and I actually, just like you, was like, I like this, but I didn't understand why myself. So it's a really good done product, like well written for a screen compared. It was a book, right? Wasn't it a book first?
I feel like it was. I'd have to look that up.
I know there's a book of it, but I thought it was a book first, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm
That,
unsure
that
about
sounds right, Curtis.
Yeah. So,
that.
but I've never read it. That's all I got to say about it.
Yeah, you usually
Moto
movies are
Viper,
better.
how about you? Anything to say about On
Oh,
Golden Pond?
Absolutely love this movie. I kicked the tires about putting it on my list. It's the father and daughter, but it's also the son of the mother, and the son coming of age with the grandparents, and a few life lessons along the way. It's a great family movie, and to wrap it up, it's just a great family movie because it's real.
You just triggered in me, Moto, what it was. It was the son grandfather relationship
Yeah.
that like had me
Yeah.
Yeah.
so riveted to it because
Right.
it reminded me of my relationship with my grandfather as a child.
Thank
God
you.
rest his
Exactly.
Same.
soul. All right. So yeah, On Golden Pond. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you are a father, or if you had any type of relationship with your grandfather, or if you were a daughter who had a strained relationship with your father, this will probably make you cry your eyes out. But still only on one person's list, therefore it gets a rank of D. Moving on, this was M3's pick, The Great Muppet Caper. Only person who has it is M3, so M3, why don't you start us off?
I watched it when it first came. Oh, excuse me. I think I was like 5 when it first came out. And I remember sitting down eating like butterscotch pudding and watching it. I don't remember if they broke it up into parts, and I only seen segments of it in line, or if they threw the whole movie out. But I do remember it, and anything going towards Jim Henson, amazing talent, and all the characters are so iconic. When I saw that 1981 was coming, I didn't even realize that this was 1981, but was happy that I was like, oh shit, that brings back a lot of memories. That's all I got.
Nice. Curtis, why don't you go second on this one?
Yeah. I remember this came out, and I was so excited for it. And then I thought it was boring. It wasn't like the Muppet Show to me. So, but later on, I watched it again. I was like, oh, maybe. And then probably about maybe 10 years ago, I watched it, and I watched it in segments because I would pause it and do something. And it worked better for me that way, I guess. So it must be something to do with it being a kid and a short attention span, maybe. But yeah, it brings good memories. It's a good film, especially for a family or kids.
Yeah, for me, it was kind of very similar to the Muppet movie. Of course, the Muppet movie was kind of like a whodunit in America based on like a frog leg restaurant. And this one was more like the Muppets in England doing a Sherlock Holmes type thing. I like the Muppet movie better. This was still pretty damn good because, the Muppets are great. Moto, why don't you go next? All right, Moto's not there. Digital, it's all down to you, my friend.
When it comes to Muppet movies, for me, the ones I have the most fond memories of is the Muppet movie, and then this one.
Muppets Take
And
Manhattan.
it's not that I don't enjoy some of the other ones, but I was. Let's see, when did Muppets Take Manhattan come out? That was in 87, 88, maybe.
No idea, but
Was
I'm
it
sure
that
M3
way?
will
Anyway,
pick it when we get to that.
So,
year.
It was this one and the Muppet movie were the ones that were out that I remember as a kid, other than like the Muppet Show and TV specials and stuff like that. So I enjoyed this one.
Nice. Moto Viper, anything to say?
It was the movie.
There you go.
I'm gonna
All
be
right,
honest
Ed,
with you guys, I didn't care for it. I didn't really care for the Muppets. It was never my style.
Awesome.
Never really,
Ed-
just being honest with you, never cared for it. Never cared for Sesame Street. None of that shit.
Well, all right. Ed, anything to add on the Great Muppet Caper?
Just to answer the question, it's 1984 for the Muppets Take Manhattan.
I was thinking it was later
Yeah.
than
You were close. You were close. To be honest with you, I love the Muppets. Of course, watch the Muppet Show. Who didn't? But well, one of us. But the movies for me all kind of ran together in my mind. They're all kind of the same movie, even though I know they're different. But they're fun, and you just got to take them for what they are. So a good film.
Yeah, I will say this much before we move on. The Muppet movie is the only one I remember the music from. So, take that for what you will. But anyways, only had one person pick it, so it is D-ranked, and we will move on.
What does the DC?
This is one of Moto Viper's picks, The Legend of the Lone Ranger. And Moto, you're alone on this one, man. So why don't you start us off here?
Okay, well, when it comes to young orphaned John Reed, who watched his family get murdered, watched his brother get murdered, he vowed that there will be justice in the West. He was taken in by a family of Indians, a tribe of Indians, taught the ways of the land, taught the ways of the West, and promised to bring justice to the West, like I said, and takes on Butch Cavendish, who takes hostage Ulysses S. Grant. And the big climax, of course, is on the train at the end, taking him out. And the president with the silver bullet saying, "Who was that masked man?" Now that was Lone Ranger, and that was Lone Ranger as a kid for me. Was perfect. Perfect Lone Ranger. He was a hero.
Nice. Ed, why don't you go next?
I know I watched this, but I do not remember it. I remember watching it, but I really don't remember much about it. But I did like the Lone Ranger, so I'm sure I enjoyed it. That's all I got to say.
Nice. Curtis, anything to say about The Legend of the Lone Ranger?
I watched it, I don't remember a whole lot, but I remember more bigger segments than like I do other movies. And it's the Lone Ranger, you always waited for him to high old silver and all that stuff. And that was it. I'm sure I enjoyed it a lot as a kid, but it was, I saw it at the same time, like when other movies were on that we'll probably mention here in a little bit. So
probably Digital, anything to add about The Legend of the Lone Ranger?
I did enjoy this movie as a kid, and probably the main reason that my family went to the theater and saw this movie was my dad's two biggest things for him when he was growing up was Tarzan and the Lone Ranger, because Lone Ranger was on TV, and they like to go to Saturday matinee and watch Tarzan movies. And so he was super excited when this movie came out, which got me excited and my brother excited about it. And then afterwards there was the short-lived action figure line, and I cannot remember who produced it now, but they were the line was similar to the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones line, where they had articulation in the knees. And it's the first time I can remember a line that had articulated horses, even though I think it was only 5 points of articulation on the horse, but still. So, but I did enjoy this movie. I still enjoy this movie. I think this movie is a better Lone Ranger movie than the one Disney made with Armie Hammer and Johnny Depp.
Nice. Yeah, for me, talking about the action figures and the articulated horses, I had one of my favorite action figures from this exact year was probably only the second action figure in 3 3/4 scale that had articulated knees. But we'll talk about that movie much later in this because it's on a lot of people's lists.
Yeah.
But the Adventure People also had articulated horses, and they did predate. They would like the
Okay.
70s.
Okay.
So and the Adventure People is incidentally the motorcycle rider and the horseback rider were the first ones that I saw with articulated knees. But M3, anything to say about the Lone Ranger? I've never seen this, so I'm going to pass on talking about it. All I know is the old Lone Ranger serials were not for me, so I had no desire to see this. But that's just my opinion. M3, how about you?
What's up, Big M and Moto Viper? Forgive me. I have not watched anything Lone Ranger my whole entire life. That's it. That's all I got.
That's all right, man. That's okay.
All right, yeah, and welcome Big M and T-Fan Page to the chat.
Yes.
All right, well, Moto Viper was the only one to pick this film, so again, it gets a rank of D.
I got a D.
Moving on, this was one of Digital Caveman's picks, The Fox and the Hound. Digital, what have you got to say about this?
This is probably my absolute favorite animated Disney movie. It was I didn't realize it at the time, but this is like in the first one that was originally in theaters when I was a kid, and we used to have the I don't know how many of y'all remember the old LP vinyls that had they were the clear vinyl and it had the picture from the movie on the inside of it, and it was basically just like everything sound wise from the movie placed on the record, similar to the Star Wars record, which I'm sure everybody here remembers that one. And we would just listen to this thing over and over and over and over and over, and it's just you got that one line in the movie that always it just kills me, and it's when Todd and Copper first meet, and Todd's like, "I'm a fox," and then Copper's, "I'm a hound dog." Roll, 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 roll.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Curtis is are you there? He's muted, so he probably stepped away. So we're gonna go to M3 instead. M3, do you remember The Fox and the Hound, and what did you think of it?
I do. I liked it a lot, and this was actually one of my movies that if I couldn't figure out any other movies, it was going to go into my top 10. I'm a hound dog always sticks out in my head, and just the whole. It's almost like I want to say not betrayal, but they've got to figure out how to keep the fox alive. I believe it's been so long since I've seen it, but maybe not my favorite Disney cartoon, but up there to where it's got a good storyline. That back when Disney was cool,
Nice. Yeah, I don't have much to say about it. I'll just say this is like one of Disney's earlier attempts at using cartoon animals as an allegory for racism. Much more recent version of that would have been Zootopia. But I did love this movie as a child, but it was not good enough to make my list. Ed, how about you?
It just occurred to me, I had a demented thought, that The Fox and the Hound, just like Lady and the Tramp, would be great names for porn movies. Come on now. That's
Yeah,
funny.
indeed. You're a dog man looking for a dog woman to help bury your bone. I get it.
He's a furry, yes.
Moto, anything to add for The Fox and the Hound?
No, you guys, everybody pretty much nailed on every topic that I had to say. That's a great story. It's I could see how you could get portrayed as a something being racist, but to me, it's just being different, and trying to figure out why they have to be different. And at the end, the conclusion is they don't have to be different.
Exactly. Well, that's what I meant by it. I didn't say it was racist. I mean, it was like an allegory against racism, basically.
Yeah.
Curtis, are you back yet, or are we moving on to the next one without you saying anything about The Fox and the Hound? I guess we're moving on. All right. Hopefully the next movie isn't his pick.
Moving right along.
Yes, The Fox and the Hound had only Digital picking it, so it is again the rank of D. We had a lot of D ranks this time.
Did we?
Next is one of my picks, Neighbors, starring John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. This movie is a rare occasion where John Belushi plays the straight man. He's a suburban dad, typical suburban dad, likes his suburban life, keeps his lawn cut, tries to keep the wife happy. And then Dan Aykroyd and Catherine Walker. They move in next door, and they are like partying swingers, right down to like the key party aspect. Whereas like she tries to hook up with John Belushi, and Dan Aykroyd tries to hook up with Belushi's wife, and they don't even think there's anything wrong with it. But this is a very funny movie, and it's a very rare case of getting to see John Belushi play a straight man. If you haven't seen this movie, please check it out. It seems to have been forgotten by almost everybody. But I'm going to pass it on to someone who I know has seen it. Ed, how about you, my friend?
I remember it, and I'm sure it was funny, but I don't remember it in the same vein.
Bummer. Digital, how about you? Have you seen this film?
I do not believe I have ever seen this film, but I want to watch it now just for the fact of Belushi playing a straight man, which he is not known for doing. And something else I just want to remark on the poster, the content of the movie as you described it, and then it says at the bottom, coming this Christmas.
Yeah, right. Usually Belushi's just impersonating a zit. But Frank, have you ever seen this film?
I have not, sir. I have never seen this movie.
Bummer. Definitely check it out. If you were a fan of John Belushi, please check it out. M3, how about you?
Oh, you didn't know that I watched this movie. It's fucking amazing, dude. I laughed the whole fucking time. I didn't know John Belushi was gay. I had no idea. But I'm lying right now. I've never seen it. Sorry.
Yeah, don't give people weird ideas, man. Curtis, anything or M3? Anything else to add? I mean, you said you saw it and loved it.
No, I was lying. It was a lie.
Oh, all right. Get back under your bridge, troll. There's some people that need riddles.
Yeah.
Curtis, how about you, my friend?
I started watching it, and it's pretty good. I can't wait to watch the rest of it, but that's also on YouTube for free.
Yeah, that's the beauty of movies being this old. You can usually find them for free somewhere.
Yeah. So yeah, from what I seen of it so far, I'm into it. So I recommend it. Just
nice. Well, I'm sorry, Curtis. Did you have more?
I just said I recommend it from what I've seen so far.
All right. Well, as I am the only one that picked this, it goes in the category of D.
Oh my god!
Wow!
Next
Look at
up,
us this week.
We've got Condor Man, only picked by M3. I have to admit, I've never seen this movie, but judging by the supercars with James Bond-esque stuff on the poster, I kind of want to see it. M3, why don't you tell us about Condor Man?
I had a good friend in third or fourth grade named Maudo Garcia, and he brought me over to his house for the first time, and we watched this together. And the whole time he's telling me that the junker truck that Condor Man is driving, he wanted it so bad. And I was like, why do you want that junker truck? Because that little yellow Lamborghini type thing pops out of it somewhere in the middle of the movie. And it's definitely, like you said, definitely like 007, very corny, very cheesy shit. I watched the trailer again today to kind of give me some memories. And holy shit, the dad in Teen Wolf's dad is in it as a younger guy. He was almost like a kid, right? But very, very cheesy, but cool concept cars, good ideas. It's got lasers. It's got 6 or 7 Porsches in there chasing after him in the trailer too. You should see him fly. There's no gliding. He's actually flapping his wings. It's fucking hilarious, dude. Stupid. That's all I got. Great movie. I recommend watching it if you just are high one night and just want to get some good laughs in.
Nice. Curtis, anything to say about Condor Man?
No, I've never
All
seen it.
right.
I've never seen it. I'm gonna have to watch it now, though.
Nice. Moto Viper, have you seen Condor Man?
Yes, me and my buddy saw this movie, and we went on his grandma's garage, and with a makeshift Da Vinci looking contraption, and thought we could do the same thing, and we both bust our tailbones.
Oh,
Love this movie.
Nice. So basically, life lessons learned. It's a very useful
Exactly,
film.
man. I thought for sure we could pull it off.
Nice. Ed, how about you? Anything to say about Condor Man?
Pass.
All right, digital. Anything on Condor Man?
You know, I remember going to the theater and seeing this one. And, you know, I remember the guy flying around, and for some reason, I remember like the front of the yellow car was, you know, the yellow car was his car, and it was like the front end was very angular, and it had this gimmick on it, like somebody was playing chicken with him, and it like created a ramp on the front of the car and made the other car jump over it. I don't know if that's the case or not, but for some reason I remember that in there. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a Disney movie.
You are correct, sir.
And so, you know, I mean, just vague things about it that you would remember watching as a kid, but the highlights, I guess.
Well, all right. Yeah, people in the chat, watch Condor Man so it doesn't go on the endangered video list. Condor was only picked by M3, therefore it gets a rank of D. Moving on, this is one of Ed's picks, Arthur. Ed, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about Arthur?
When alcoholism was funny. Tell you that you can't make a film like this today. I remember watching this film. It was on cable and everything else, and back in the day. And 11-year-old me thought it was one of the funniest movies. I thought Dudley Moore was just like hilarious. To watch it now, it doesn't hold up as well, but it's a good story about a man who's like a man child, you know, or whatever, and he finally grows up and starts taking responsibility. And it is a good song. And of course, we got the great Christopher Cross song, something about New York City. I can't think of it right now.
When you're between the moon. And
If you get caught between the moon and New York.
Arthur's theme. Yeah, and so that was really great.
New York City.
But it's a fun movie. I think you'd get a laugh out of it. Just take it for the time it was made in. It's a good film.
damn.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of Dudley Moore, and I have to say, you know, Dudley getting his shit together was nowhere near what Robert Downey Jr. did with Tony Stark. So I'll pass that on to Digital Caveman. What did you think about this?
You know, I know that I've seen this movie, and that, you know, he was an alcoholic and drank a lot. And I just that's about all I remember of it, except I remember it being better than, like, what was it, the 2014 remake that they tried to do.
It was
I want to say it was 14. It might have been a little later than that. With oh Lord, I can't think of his
Minnelli.
name.
Oh,
Tupac Shakur.
No, it was Louis Guzman was like his butler, and God dang, I cannot think of he was a big
I
comedian.
remember they made a remake, but I don't think I ever seen it.
But you know, you ain't missing nothing. And then the only other thing I want to say about this is I would like at some point to take a closer look at this poster, because I swear up on the windshield of that race car, it looks like there's a Decepticon logo.
It is not. It is a AAA logo.
Ah, dang it. Wouldn't it have been cool?
And I would have said it was an Autobot logo before Decepticon.
Well, yeah, I know, but the shape of it from way back to me looks more Decepticon than
Yes.
Autobot.
All right,
Even though we know Mirage was the Autobot, but anyway.
Nice. M3, you're an alcoholic. Anything to say about your kindred spirit here?
I loved it. I love every bit of it. No, I've never seen Arthur. I think it was a movie for my parents, and I was real young. They didn't sit me down and say, "Hey, come watch us with this," or anything like that. So I vaguely remember Arthur.
watch it when you're on the sauce. It's even more funnier.
All right. Yeah. Well, that would be any time of day for M3.
Yeah.
Curtis, anything to say about Arthur?
Yeah, I watched it. It had some funny parts and stuff, but Dudley Moore is no Rodney Dangerfield. That's all I gotta say.
Nice. Yeah, like I said, I prefer the 2008 remake Iron Man. Moto Viper, anything that you have to say about Arthur?
Oh, I love this movie. Every time it was on, I'd sit down and watch it. Laughed at the butler who didn't kiss his ass. I told him to get off his ass. Loved it.
John
Look.
Gilman.
Called him out
Right,
for what
so-
he was, and then then he goes and gets his shit together, and it's all because of the power of a good woman. It's a good story, dude. Fucking when you're stuck between the moon and New York City, and you fall in love,
The best.
what else are you gonna do?
Have Christopher Cross write a song about it. So basically, what Moto is telling us is if we get M3 of Butler, he'll stop drinking all the Bud Light. Moving on.
Right.
This was only picked by Ed, therefore it gets a rank of D.
What is going
Moving on. This was one of Moto's picks, and he is the only one that picked it. Not that it's not an amazing film,
You guys all
but the
suck.
Howling. The Howling.
Every one of you are
Moto,
incredibly-
go right ahead and give us some words on the Howling.
I
All
swear.
right. Let me tell you something, man. The Howling is what. Well, we got 79. We got Halloween, 1980. We got Friday the 13th Friday the 13th, excuse me. And then in this year, and then it was just seemed like it seeded off an explosion of horror movies. And me being 9 years old, that's what me and my mom went and saw all the time, whether it be at the drive-in or theater. It was a scary movie. Or hell, I remember being at at the arcade at the mall, or maybe the skate rink. You know what I mean? All at the mall, and you go to watch a show. But then I was able to get in with my older teenage uncles to watch it. You know what I mean? So after a game of Frogger or Miss Pac-Man that just happened to came out that same year, I go see this movie, The Howling, with my mom. I see these guys transform, and it blows American Werewolf in London out of the water. The story is great. The graphics for the time is great. The way it's written is great. The comedic inputs are timed out perfectly. And by far today, in my opinion, still one of the best looking werewolves in cinema history.
Well, I'll go ahead and take my turn next and just say that The Howling is a fantastic werewolf movie, but quite a few people on this panel disagree with you because a different werewolf movie is much higher on the ranking. Moving on to Ed. Why don't you go next, Ed?
I'm sure this movie scared the shit out of me, so I probably didn't watch it. I probably had nightmares from it, and I don't even want to look at stills of it because I probably will still have nightmares. So it's a pass for me. But I'm sure.
All right, M3. Why don't you go next? All right, Digital. Why don't you go next?
Go ahead.
I did not get to see this movie, in 81 because I was like maybe 6 years old, I think. So I was in my teens, 13, 14, maybe before I saw this movie, but wow. I mean, it's a great movie. The transformation, like Frank said, it's a great transformation, but who knew lycanthropy was an STD?
No shit.
Right. M3, what have you got? Are you here now, M3?
Yeah, I was here. I actually looked at the trailer real quick because Curtis, didn't you watch this
I never
together?
thought of it that way. That is
I believe
hilarious.
so. I believe so.
Yeah, and isn't it at the ending area where they did like this animation sequence of them transforming and they were fucking in the woods, two wolves?
That's not the ending.
That's not
Okay.
the
Oh, okay. And so the blonde girl in there is pretty hot. I like her. But as far as like remembering too much about this, a lot of them kind of blend in together with the other werewolf movies kind of thing right now in my head.
Best werewolves by far.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
Gotcha.
Got it.
Curtis, anything to say about The Howling?
Yeah, it was a really good movie for me. I watched it. It was the summertime at 8:00 because in cable time, 8:00 was the rated R movies.
Yeah.
and I watched it and I was scared. I was like, literally, holy shit.
Yes.
But what I never got the ending though. Like they ran out of money or something. Because when the news lady turned into that, I guess a werewolf, to me she looked like she turned into Fizzgig from the Dark Crystal. That's all I gotta say about that. That's the only. But everything else was like scary.
They had to prove the story, Curtis. They had to prove it.
Yeah,
And that's
well, I
the
know
only way
they
they
had
can
to
prove
prove
it.
it. I know they had
All
to prove
right.
it.
Well,
Did they have a topical cream for that?
I answered you in the chat, Ed.
The fuck?
It's a deranged fart because everyone's talking over each other. Anyways, we're moving on. This was only picked by one person, and even though Frank thinks that's a crime against humanity, it is the way it is,
It is.
and it gets a rank of D.
I wanted
Moving on, the next film on the list was picked by Digital Caveman. Only one person picking a Bond film seems a little out of character, but it is Roger Moore. So, Digital, what have you got to say about For Your Eyes Only?
This is the first Bond movie that I can remember seeing as a child, other than that I saw in the theater. The other ones I used to play, the Sean Connery ones, they would play on TV a lot. And this one, I thought it was a good movie. It starts out cool. She's, Bond's on a mission, and the lady shows up trying to kill who he's trying to contact her. I can't exactly remember, but and cars and guns and boats in this
romance.
one. Well, if that's what you want to call it, romance. But I also remember having like the digest-sized Marvel Comics adaptation of this that I read the crap out of too. So that may have something to do with my fond memories of it as well.
All right. Well, Moto, since you didn't want to wait your turn, why don't you go ahead and say your piece on For Your Eyes Only?
welcome to the stream, Corey.
I guess it's not a discussion. It's a 1 minute tell your piece and then move on.
Yeah, well, that we did discuss those rules before you arrived. Sorry you missed them.
Okay. Yeah, this movie was good. Watched it with my old man on the couch on a Sunday afternoon. It was pretty damn good. And then every time it'd come on cable, I'd catch a glance of it and watch the clip of it and go back outside to play.
All right. Curtis, what about you? Anything to say about For Your Eyes Only?
It's for the song sticks to your head to this day. It was one of the first ones I really watched as a kid. So yeah, I liked it a lot. And shout out to Rob78 for joining us. What up, Rob? Hope you're feeling better, bro. And shout out to Corey as well.
All right, Ed, anything to add about For Your Eyes Only?
Oops, I gotta push the wrong button there. Yeah, it's a Bond film. I mean, it was great. I feel like this should have made my list. I don't know why it didn't. Probably some other good films that deserved it more. But I grew up on Roger Moore. Roger Moore, for me, when I grew up, was my Bond, was my first Bond. I knew of Connery, but in the 80s, it was more Roger Moore, late 70s, early 80s. This stands up more than some of the other ones. Octopussy was a good one. A View to a Kill does not stand up, even though I like the film. I like elements of it. So yeah, I'm a big Bond fan, and it's like Star Wars. Even when it's bad, it's good. Well, that's not true for The Acolyte, but anyway, For Your Eyes Only is a good film. It's a Bond film. It's worth watching. All the gadgets, it's quintessential Bond for me.
See, now for me, I think the reason that I didn't care for this one is because Roger Moore was not my Bond growing up. Even though Sean Connery was before my time, my grandfather was a huge Bond fan. So he showed me Thunderball, Goldfinger, all the Dr. No, the Man with the Golden Gun, all the Connery ones. So when I saw this, Roger Moore pops up, and I'm like, who's this guy? This isn't Bond.
Yeah.
But I did love Sheena Easton's theme song for it.
Yes.
M3, anything to add about For Your Eyes Only?
Yeah, first shout out Corey. Corey's my good friend, my best friend over here in Lodi. He's over in New Mexico right now. But thanks for popping in, Corey.
Oh yeah, shout out Corey.
This Roger Moore is my James Bond. So when I didn't even know Sean Connery until I was like 19 or 20, and I was like, Sean Connery did fucking James Bond. Ew, what the fuck? I swear. So this guy is my James Bond, and the guy after him, the guy with the blue eyes or whatever. Even the guy after him was great, but this movie in particular, I don't remember anything about it, but I know I've seen it one time when I was one time. That's
Curtis, you have more to add?
Just one thing. Shout out to the Baroness for posing for the poster.
Pancake.
And,
Keep my girlfriend's name out of your fucking mouth. All right. Moving on. For your eyes only had one vote. So it is a rank of D. All right. So moving on, we have an M3 pick, Scanners. M3, why don't you tell us about Michael Ironsides blowing up people's heads with telekinesis?
I watched this movie today, matter of fact. I sat down on the couch, had my coffee, and fucking watched it because I wanted to make sure that I remembered certain things. And yeah, it was great all the way through the end. There was a couple scenes where they tried to do like some special effects, but it was like really, they didn't have the budget for it. But this is one of those movies where I would love to see them remake it in 2024, exactly like the way they had it now, but with all the new animation or new CGI and stuff like that. But that scene with that head popping was one of the most epic fucking head pops I've ever seen on any movie platform, even to date. It literally, it filleted and it fucking went, blah. It was perfect. I couldn't believe it. And all the people in the audience were like, fucking, it was great. That's all I got. Scanners. I will watch it again, and I would love to see a remake. Yeah.
All right. Digital, how about you, sir? Anything to add on Scanners?
Yeah, I know I've seen this one, and the head popping I can remember, but other than that, it's been a long time since I've seen this one.
All right. Well, yeah, I have to agree that it is probably the best head explosion in cinema history. But for me, one of the things I took away from it was the fact that our government will literally use anything to try and make a weapon out of absolutely anything. Ed, how about you?
I feel like a Digital Cave Queen would say this is a prerequisite to the Pimple Popper show. But and I guess this also Scanners also gives new meaning to a given head.
Ding.
That doesn't seem like the kind of head that I want. Curtis, how about you, man?
I remember watching it. I still like. It's been a while since I've watched it, but I watched a clip the other day of the head exploding, which is awesome. And it is on YouTube for free.
I paid for it today, damn it.
There you go. Moto Viper, anything to say about Scanners?
In the influx of a lot of horror movies in 1981, Scanners was a boring movie to me, but the gore was Academy Award winning, in my opinion. But the story was very flat.
Well, all right, yeah. Government tampering doesn't really usually go too far. Okay, so well, that's backwards. But anyways, only picked by M3, therefore it gets a rank of D.
How many?
Moving on. And this, I think I'm pretty sure this is our last D rank. Oh, I think there's one more D rank after this. But this was a Moto Viper pick.
What?
And I'm kind of actually surprised no one else picked this. It almost made my list, but the other things on my list were just I couldn't pass them up. But Moto, why don't you tell us what we most likely already know about the amazing film Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior?
Well, Mad Max starts off in a post-apocalyptic world, of course, following the original movie. Here we find him alone with his car. He finds a city out in the desert. It's a city of petroleum, gold in this time of the world. the invading outsiders, outlaws, if you will, is led by a guy by the name of Lord Humongous. We'll all remember him. Just think of Conan times 10.
Weird.
And then his number one henchman, Wes Mohawk, the guy with the mohawk and his bitch on the back of his bike.
Yeah.
But a genius plan to say, hey, you want me to get you guys out of here? So they take one convoy, make it seem like they're taking the precious commodity of fuel to one side, when it's really just filled with sand, and the children and then the good people, the elderly people, leave with the gas in the right direction, all by the Road Warriors plan, and thwarted everybody's thwarted all the bad guys' plans of getting everything. And then if you take an account of the cars I love the cars that were made in it. I love the music that was in it. And again, I love the special effects that were done in it. You could really see
Nice.
where the 80s were headed at this point when it comes to movies like this coming out.
Curtis, what have you got to say about the Road Warrior?
I got somebody cut out. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I
hear
can,
you.
we can hear you. We're waiting for you to talk about the Road Warrior.
Okay, I didn't hear you say my name. That's why it went.
I was going to add one more thing.
Go ahead.
I just want to add real quick. And then if you look at your VHS library, you'll notice that there are a ton of spin-off type of movies that come out of this genre of movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I just watched it like a couple days ago, and the part that made me pissed off was they killed his dog. I was so mad.
So this is the original John Wick.
Yeah, yeah. They killed his dog, man. I was like, what the fuck? But he didn't show to like. He was like, oh well, let me go on. And then also the couple people make an appearance from this movie in Weird Science, which you'll never forget. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a
All
great.
right.
Who is that?
I'm sorry, Curtis.
Oh, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Ed, how about you, man?
I don't know how I missed this one. I feel like when this came out, was this Mad Max or was it the Road Warrior? Because I know it was named and then like it had a
Depends
different
on the
name.
country. If you saw it in
Part two,
Australia, it was Mad Max 2. If you saw it in America, it was the Road Warrior.
I feel like I could have kicked something off and put this on there. I know I watched this and I know I enjoyed it. I love the Mad Max films. Still do to an extent. So it's a good film. I love these dystopian kind of films, and Mel Gibson's still a great actor, even better director.
Hell yeah.
Enough said.
Yeah, I personally I love this movie as well. The main villain, Lord Humongous, what is he compensating for with that name? I do have to say, Frank, I think you were wrong about one thing, because I don't think Mad Max knew that the gas was not in the tanker, because at the end, when all the sand is spilling out of it, he seems genuinely surprised by it.
Yeah, he's like,
And Virginia May, like so beautiful in this film, a lot hotter in this than she was all bald and blue in Fosgate.
Yeah.
Digital, how about you, sir?
The fact that this movie only made one person's list is just shows you how many great films that there were in 81.
Yes, sir.
And I love The Road Warrior. I think between this and Lethal Weapon 1 is Mel Gibson at his finest. And I mean, you just, when you think of a dystopian movie with cars, you think Mad Max. And generally, and when I say Mad Max, I mean the character, not the movie. And generally, when you think about it, it's either The Road Warrior or Beyond Thunderdome.
Thunderdome.
And but it's a great movie. Like I said, this is one of those films where I think that Mel Gibson is at his best. I guess playing lunatics, but
there you go. M3, what about you, man? Anything to add on Road Warrior?
Maisie said hi. But no, sorry, baby. I'll catch up with you in a second.
Oh, no, you're good.
I don't think I've seen this one, and I don't think I've seen all of the Thunderdome with Tina Turner in it. They were older for me at the time, and when I jumped into watching anything Mad Max now is Furiosa and Fury Road. They're fucking amazing movies, and if I love them so much, I should watch this one and the original one as well. But one day, that's all I got.
Yeah, definitely watch this film. It is an incredible movie. And yes, it is a travesty that it is only on one person's list, but as Digital said, that is a testament to the things to come. But it is a movie with the rank of D. Next is the last D rank movie, I believe, and this is M3's pick, Saturday the 14th. M3, why don't you talk a little bit about this spoof comedy?
Yeah, it is a spoof comedy for sure. I just watched it today also just to make sure I had everything in it. Bad writing, corny as fuck. The monsters were literally dudes in suits, you know. You could see that, like, if one took a shit on his break, he had the toilet paper still hanging from his monster fucking shit. But it was pretty good. I mean, it was just super corny. And me and my sister Becky watched it back when we were like, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, whenever we ended up watching it. We brought it home on a VHS. But worth watching. It's a fun movie, but be prepared. It's corny as fuck. Great.
Yeah, and keep in mind, folks, M3 picked this over Road Warrior. Yeah, so Digital, how about you next?
You know, this is one of those movies. I'm sure that at some point I've seen it. I just remember seeing like the VHS in the rental store all the time, you know. And
all right,
that's really all I can say about it.
Yeah, I for me it was I picked it based on the title because I thought it was going to be like the day after, you know, Friday the 13th and the aftermath of Jason's massacre.
Mhm.
Because the video store that I rented from, they didn't have the actual covers out there. They were just like plastic cases with the name on them. So I got conned into watching this. And I have to say, this is like the 1981 equivalent of like a Wayne's parody movie, you know, like Scary Movie or Gladiator film, you know, that sort of thing. Ed, how about you?
Don't know it. I guess I'll pass.
All right. Curtis?
I thought I picked this. I guess I didn't, but I swore I picked because
no, you switched it out.
I got a heart for this movie. You know, I mean, it's cheesy and corny, but it's something you know that I watched as like a 7-year-old during Halloween, and it was great, you know, for then. But it is cheesy and corny. I gave it away for one of the giveaways in Halloween Bangers last year on Blu-ray, I believe. So,
yeah.
Well, how generous of you.
Yes.
Moto Viper, anything to add about Saturday the 14th?
Oh, it was hilarious. Great spoof.
Yeah.
Everything. The toilet paper on the back of the zippered fucking costume. Just everything. The whole thing was such a parody, a spoof. And like I said, I was all about horror movies. By the time 79, 80 rolled around, that was me and my mom's thing. So we saw them all. And this one just made you laugh. Just made you laugh your ass off. Made you feel good about going to the movies again.
Nice. Well, all right. Again, this was only picked by one person, so it is a rank of D. Moving on. Here's the first one picked by two people. It was picked by Digital Caveman and Moto Viper. It is Dragon Slayer. Dragon Slayer. Digital Caveman, why don't you lead us off on this one?
You know, it's just a great fantasy type movie. You know, Peter McNichol goes and you know, he starts off the movie as he's an apprentice to some wizards, and then you know, he thinks he can do something they can't do, and he goes out and tries to save a lady from a dragon. And the effects in this movie are just top notch, especially, you know, for the time. And you know, it's just a great film. Anytime I catch it on, flipping through channels or streaming services now as it is, you know, I'll stop and watch it. I own it on DVD. It's just a great film. If you've never seen this movie, watch it.
Nice. Moto, you also picked this film. Anything to add?
Yes. This movie, again, if you guys just see the pattern of my life of the horror movies, the fantasy movies, and I love them so much. We were out riding our bicycles, building forts out in the desert and shit like that. And one of my buddies said, hey, my parents rented Dragon Slayer. You want to go see it? So we're like, yeah, we were thirsty anyways. Fuck, we need some water. So we went in, watched that movie, loved that movie so much. And then another friend of ours was talking about how his brothers played a game called Dungeons and Dragons. And within 2 weeks of watching this movie, the four of us were playing Dungeons and Dragons. And that's what set it off to this day, where I still play Dungeons and Dragons. And it's partly because of this movie.
Well, all right. Ed, anything to add on Dragon Slayer?
I remember it, but I don't remember it. So not really anything.
All right. How about you, Curtis?
I watched it. It was the part that kept me watching the movie was like the dragons, their special effects stuff, which was really good, I thought, as a kid. And you know, this is, you know, I haven't had a movie picked yet on here, so we still got 10 movies to go. Let's
Look
go.
at you. You're gonna win this week, Curtis.
Well, yeah, because Curtis, you didn't really pick anything that was just you.
I know.
M3, anything to add on Dragon Slayer?
No, but I'm always looking for dragon movies. I love dragons, and I'd never even heard of this one. It's
Smoke.
fun. I will watch this.
It is excellent. The dragon itself, you know, there's another movie that's famous for its stop motion on this list later on. But this one, ILM did the stop motion, and they kind of put like someone who was known for stop motion to shame with this dragon. The stop motion on this dragon is better than all of the stop motion in the other movie that is further up the list.
By far.
And the main actor was the museum curator in Ghostbusters 2, whose most famous line was, "Why am I drippings vid ghoul?"
You guys,
Yes,
it's Pee-wee from Porky's. Now quit.
Dude, he was the same guy in dude, just wait your turn, man. You had your turn. God, why are we talking over each other?
Give him the fart.
Keep thinking it's a discussion. My bad.
It's not. Okay,
It's
moving
not,
on.
obviously.
Anyways, we're moving on. All right. So Dragon Slayer gets a rank of C because 2 people voted for it. Moving on, the next movie that 2 people voted for, this was M3 and Curtis voting for Caveman, starring Ringo Starr and Shelley Long.
Yeah.
Curtis, why don't you lead us off on this one?
Yeah, I watched this with my parents. Of course, Ringo Starr was in it. That's one reason why they watched it. It was so funny. It's got stop motion clay, whatever. The dinosaurs were great with that. Dinosaurs getting high, all that stuff it's a stupid freaking movie, but it's great. The music in it is great. The way they talk, they all talk caveman like, except for the Japanese guy. He's like, he's the only one that speaks English. It's crazy. It's a great fun time movie. That's all I got.
M3, anything to add?
All I gotta say is, Zug Zug. Movie's great.
Nice.
Movie's great. That's all I got.
Yeah, and you know, when it comes to Shelley Long, I definitely want Zug Zug.
Yes.
But I love when they were like trying to discover, you know, trying to name things. My favorite scene was doo-doo, caca, shit. Yeah. But you know, Shelley Long, so amazingly attractive in this. Digital, anything to add on Caveman?
No, not really. You know, I remember like bits and pieces of it, but I don't know that I've ever seen this all the way through.
Well, all right. Ed, how about you?
I guess I'll just quote what the movie poster says: back when you had to beat it before you could eat it. Caveman. Next.
Nice. Moto Viper, anything to add on Caveman?
Caveman was great. A lot of funny parts. Dennis Quaid pissing ice crystals. The finding out what an egg does and how it turns out when it hits a sulfuric gas hole. There's just so much. It was such a great ride. And of course for me it was the dinosaur eating the berry bush. The best.
Nice. All right. Well, two people picked this film, so this film wound up in the rank of C. And we're moving on to the next C ranked film, and then I believe after this we will do a slight intermission to let everybody empty their bladders and fill their drinks.
All right.
But next is this was picked by two people. It was picked by Ed and Curtis, and this is Halloween 2. Ed, why don't you start us off this time?
I want to say that I know everything about Halloween, but I don't. I just know I enjoyed the hell out of this film, and I'm not a big horror film person, but I do respect this film, and probably was one of the best in the series. Y'all can debate me on that. That's fine. I enjoyed it. It was just a good film. I'm scary as shit back when I was 11 years old, so it holds up for me.
Nice. Curtis, how about you, sir?
I like this one maybe a little bit more than the first one, but what I loved about it is it perfectly picked up from the first one. Perfectly. And a lot of people say, like it wasn't shot like the other one all in like certain spots, but it was shot in a hospital for almost the entirety of the film. But yeah, I just good memories. I watched it on a black and white TV. My parents had a party going, biker party going, and I was in my room watching it. And I was like, "Oh, shit.
Nice, dude. Nice. Hell yeah.
It was great. So, yeah.
Very nice. Frank, since you still want to talk over people, why don't you go next?
Oh, that was agree with him, Prophet. God damn. In fact, I'll agree with him even more that Halloween 2 was better than Halloween 1. Better writing, more adaptation of the actors to the characters, and I'll leave it at that. Go ahead.
Let's see who's next here. Digital. What have you got to say about Halloween 2?
I don't have anything to say about it. I've still never watched a Halloween movie.
All right.
I'm in the wrong crowd to say that, but I have.
Oh, it's fine, man. It's fine. M3, anything to add about Halloween 2?
Jamie Lee Curtis is hot, and I like her, and even though whatever, but I think that the first one and the second one, she's really pretty, and that's probably I could say. Hey, baby.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
She is hot, amazing.
I like her a lot. I heard you right now, and I was like, oh, I love Jamie Lee.
Yeah, she's dope. That's great. But yeah, that's all I got. That's what popped into my mind.
All right. And I will just add for my part that whoever carved this pumpkin on the poster is masterclass pumpkin carver. And the actor that plays Dr. Loomis will appear again on this list as the president later on. And that's this getting a two people voting for it gives it a rank of C. And we will go ahead and take a short intermission. Feel free to talk out of turn as much as you want for the next few minutes.
Are you sure?
Hey, look at my shirt, Curtis.
You'll know when it's time to start back up because you'll get the fart.
Yeah,
You got
no
my
shit,
fucking-
dude.
that band that Chrissy's at right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, yeah.
What's yours, Digital or Ed? What's your shirt say, Ed?
His shirt says Geek Home World. It has his channel logo and stuff on it.
Oh, he's not there. Can you see mine?
Detroit
No.
motherfucker.
Can't see shit, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says.
It's kind of blue and blurry.
I hear you. That's not what you guys thought.
Still can't see it. It kind of
Yeah,
looks like a
just-
city on fire.
Just
It's like John Cena, dude.
hard to make it out.
Yeah, man. Fucking these movies are all pretty good so far. I definitely want to see the Dragon Slayer one.
Look at all those D's, bro.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, dang.
Yeah, definitely smoke and check out Dragon Slayer, man.
Hey, that pulled from all of us. The ones where it's all singles are us going through all the movies and going, huh, okay. I wrote down 12 or 13, knowing that 3 might get changed out as I was going, you know. And,
I could have easily picked the Road Warrior. I could have easily picked the Howling. There's just so many good ones, man.
Yeah,
Howling was number 1 for me.
dude, where's my list? I'm pretty sure I had.
I was surprised that was the only one. I thought it'd be in at least top 3, 4 for that year.
Yeah, the Howling was. I would say it was more scary than.
Dude, those werewolves were perfect. It was 1981, son. Those werewolves scared the living shit out of me. I loved it.
Yeah, they were that one chick.
Yeah. How do
She
you
was-
want your burger? Raw.
Yeah,
Or rare.
Yeah, we watched that last year, Kurt. I know for sure.
mm-hmm.
And Caveman too. We never finished Caveman. I think we got 3/4 of the way through it on like 3 different nights and shit. Too.
Yeah.
In fact, I love that movie so much that 2 years ago I got a sealed original copy VHS for my birthday.
Oh dang.
Of the Howling.
Yeah, she paid a pretty penny for that shit.
Hey,
And she got me a DVD collector version of it.
that's
That
tight.
wasn't cheap either, but that's the one I watched. all the time. My VHS is still sealed.
Hey, can I say something real quick? When I used to go to the movie store, my mom would go do her thing in there, my sister would go do her thing, and I'd go to the horse section, right?
Yeah.
And I'd start looking at all the stuff, and because there's always like Jaws or something that has got like I don't know, some cool fucking thing. After a while, I started to get a little like nauseous because like I was looking at like Friday the 13th and motherfucking Howling. When you walk by it, it's a girl with the fucking tear in her stomach and the fucking person behind it and shit like that. Seen it and it's like watching Faces of Death. I can only watch so much of that. I don't even watch any fucking black market shit now, dude.
Yeah, I can't do that now. I'm too old now, but yeah, mortality's a motherfucker. When you're a teenager or a twinks, you could totally watch Faces of Death, Traces of Death, but today, hell no. I don't want to see that shit.
Dude, my wife's watching this show this morning. I'm making breakfast and shit. She's sitting having her coffee and shit, eating, and it's like as they found the body parts. Oh no, there was brains everywhere in the room when I walked in. Everywhere.
Oh, wow.
And I was like,
Good morning.
I said, what are you watching, babe? She's like, oh, it's this show where gruesome scenes like that, people have to go clean it. Well, they took a team of film crew, or not film crew, but stories and shit. They might be some photos. I don't know. It's the first I've heard of it.
Oh,
Like that. I'm like, what are you doing watching that shit? Good for you.
Biohazard. Bro, we do that shit.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah, suicide, mostly suicides.
Oh, shit.
I
Yeah,
don't watch that stuff.
But yeah, homicide once it's cleared, but it's mostly suicides because suicides are quick and easy.
I don't like any of those type of shows that are about like because they're all the same to me. Like I've seen one, I've seen them all. It seems like the
What are we talking
CSIs
about?
and stuff and all that.
I like seeing a guy that rapes a kid get castrated. And I like seeing a person that steals get their hands chopped off. I like seeing a woman who's cheated on her man get her head chopped off.
All right, next.
What? How did Marie Antoinette get the guillotine? What was her reason for that?
She was a rebel.
What did she
Political corruption.
Yeah.
She was the one who told all the starving people to just eat cake, which was like basically bread in that era. But I have to say about the Faces of Death thing, the weirdest thing about that to me was the music they chose to like play during the deaths. Like they cut a chicken's head off and they're playing Old MacDonald at a farm while it runs around the yard. Like, the hell was that?
Oh, I've seen there. I think there's 6 or 7 of them, or 10.
Is there?
I think I've only seen the first 6.
I've only seen the first 2. I didn't know there was that
Yeah.
many, bro.
I think I seen 3 of them.
Oh my god! I thought there was only 2.
Yeah, well, I watched the first one and was pretty much done. I watched the second one because my friends kind of like made me.
Yep.
But after that, when they said, "Oh, we're watching Faces of Death 3," I was like, "All right, I'm gonna go do something else."
Yep.
Not us, dude. We were fucking watching that shit. It was me, Jesse, Jesus, Mike, Justino.
Can you watch that shit now?
Yeah, we played that.
No, man. For me, watching what happened to that poor monkey in that Chinese restaurant was the end of
Oh,
it. for me.
dude.
Tap 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 tap
Hey,
tap tap.
Prophet, do you want to explain
Y'all
to the
can't watch
chat?
that movie now.
Do you want to explain to the chat, Prophet, what the A through D symbolize, or?
Well, if a movie is ranked D, it means only one person picked it. If it's C, 2 people picked it. If it's B, it was picked by 3 people. If it was A, it was picked by 4. And if it's S, it was picked by 5 or more.
Oh yeah. That way, you don't have 7 fucking brackets there. Or how many people are in?
Yeah.
Short.
Yeah. Well, I put one fewer bracket than there are people to make sure that there was some S-ranked films,
Yeah, cool.
Because, if I had one bracket per panelist, then, there would have only been one S-ranked movie this year. As it is, there's only 2.
Oh wow.
Yes, and S
So-
doesn't stand for sex, people in the chat.
No, it stands for superior. Superior. So, yeah, as soon as digital gets back, we'll go ahead and start back up.
Okay, I'm back.
All right. That was fast.
Right on time.
And we're
For a
back.
change.
Nice. All right. So the next film on the list, we are looking at, this was picked also by 2 people. This was Digital K-Ben and M3.
Check that one.
Digital, why don't you start on this one?
Okay. Evil Dead might not be everybody's favorite Evil Dead movie. It's not my favorite Evil Dead movie. But without this movie, we don't get some of the I guess the iconic shots that Raimi is known for, like the one where the 2 guys are on either end of the pole with the camera suspended in the middle, where they're floating just above the ground top with it, and you still see that in his movies today. And then there's the scene where the girl and the trees and I don't want to get into all that, but and plus we get introduced to Bruce Campbell.
Indeed, we do. M3, what would you like to add? This was also one of your picks.
Yeah. I really like this one, but I like the second one even more and shit.
Mhm.
It really launches Ash in my opinion, man. That's great. That guy is really good. I'm a fan of him, so anything he's in, I pretty much check out. But that movie, yeah, like you say, man, fucking it started a lot of that line in my head. It was great. That's all I got.
All right, Motor Viper, would you care to add anything to Evil Dead?
Loved it. And then again, it was hard not to put it on the list because I would have put every horror movie on this list. That's how good everything was to me. To me, everything was about horror movies. The better the gore, the better the splatter, the better it was. I love this movie, and I really do kind of wish there was like a room for it on the list, but I just found other things better at my time that was more influential to build who I am today. But I can tell you, with that being said, that my order of the sumbitch came just today.
Oh, damn.
Awesome.
So I am a fan. Don't get me wrong.
Awesome.
Right.
Nice.
It's just there was so many horror movies released in 1981. It was hard. I had to pick the one that made me want to fucking shit my pants, and that was The Howling.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, I agree with you, Frank, that we probably could have just done a top 10 horror movies of 1981.
I'm telling you.
But as we were hitting the whole list, there just wasn't room on my list for this. But I guarantee you this: when Evil Dead 2's year comes up, that will make my list. Curtis, how about you? What do you have to say about Evil Dead?
Evil Dead was freaking awesome for a group of college students to do in 1981. That it was really good. It scared the shit out of me as well. I really wanted to pick this one. Is this one or the second one the one where they got the pencil scene where the pencil goes into the ankle and she twirls it around? You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure. Not sure.
No, I don't remember that.
I
Oh
don't-
my god, that makes me irk every time I see him. Like, oh, it takes
It's got to be number one.
oh man, it's so gory and gruesome. And it's like you can feel her turning that pencil and that ankle and foot. It's like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's like, man. But all right, next person.
All right, Ed, why don't you wrap up Evil Dead for us?
Simple and easy. It's not my cup of tea, but I've got mad respect for it being a trailblazer and being so influential for horror films to come.
Nice, I like it. All right, so yes, as a movie picked by two people, that gets a rank of C. Moving on, the next film also picked by two people. Again, surprising that it was only two, but this is Ed and Curtis, both picked Stripes. Ed, why don't you lead us off on this one?
That's the fact, Jack. That's all I got to say. It was a funny movie. I mean, I just remember laughing my ass off on it. It was on TV the other day, and I caught some of it. But Bill Murray was just so funny and irreverent. I forgot that John Candy was in this. The guy from Ghostbusters, help me out.
Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis, who's a comic genius as well. There was just so much talent in this film, and it's a great ensemble film, and it's just a lot of fun. It's just typical 80s fun, silly movie. It was great.
All right, Curtis, are you a lean, mean fighting machine?
Yes, there she was, just a walking down the street singing.
Do I did it, dum did it do.
Everybody was supposed to cue on that. Why didn't everybody cue?
They can't sing like
Sorry,
me.
I'm eating my supper.
Oh, that's all right.
Had a mouthful.
That's a fun movie. I've watched the crap out of that like probably every year. I watch it all the time. It's a great movie. Like you said, there's all kinds of Judge Reinhold's in it. You know, like there's all kinds of people in this movie, and it's great, and it's just well done. And I forgot the name of the actor that does the first he's the drill sergeant, then becomes their platoon sergeant, but he was another famous actor. But yeah, to go on, next person, he got something to put on there.
Yeah, I absolutely love Stripes. I just didn't have room on my list for it. But the two MPs that Bill Murray and Harold Ramis hook up with made me want to join the military just to get arrested. M3, why don't you tell us what you like about Stripes?
Yeah, Curtis watches that motherfucking movie. Like if we've talked on the phone 200 times, at least 40 times he's watching Stripes and shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
I've never seen it, but I've got to. I will.
You've never seen it.
But
Oh.
through Kurt, yes, I've seen parts of it in the background, fucking shit like that or whatever, you know.
Okay, M3's new nickname is Francis.
Right. Dude, the MPs was so hot, Bill Murray had to flip her with a spatula.
Yes.
Digital Caveman, what have you got to say about Stripes?
You know, a film back when Bill Murray was actually funny and seemed like, you know, he was doing, he was into acting because it was his, you know, his passion and not, it was a paycheck. Kind of like when you see him and stuff now, it just feels kind of lifeless.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, but you know, Harold Ramis. I mean, what else can you say? I'm sure he has writing credit in this movie if you didn't write the whole thing. And then, you know, getting to be in it too. you know, and Harold Ramis is just great in anything he does. I don't think we got to see him in enough stuff because he was more behind the scenes than in front of the camera.
I don't
But
disagree with
I
you
like
on any
Stripes.
point. Moto, why don't you wrap us up on Stripes here?
Stripes was a great movie. Unfortunately, when I was 9, it was more adult than, so I didn't really pick up on a lot of the jokes, other than sexuality or the mud fight scene was great. But I remember the old man watching it, and when it would come on, I'd sit back and I'd watch it. It'd be clips until it's time to go back out and do something else. But it was more of an adult type of movie, if you feel me. But when I did watch it as an adult and watched the movie from beginning to end, you can totally respect it.
Nice. Well, folks, if you ever had the desire to have a extremely heavily armed RV and travel through Europe, Stripes is the movie for you. But as it was only picked by 2, it gets a rank of C. Moving on. This one was picked also only by 2 people. This was picked by Ed and me. History of the World Part 1, one of Mel Brooks' funniest, in my opinion. Just nonstop jokes. I will leave a few of them for Ed. But my favorite joke is when Gregory Hines is doing the Ethiopian Shim Sham dance, and the Roman god says, "Where you from?" And he goes, "Ethiopia." And he says, "What part?" He says, 125th Street. My favorite joke in the whole film. And then there's the Mel Brooks at the unemployment window. I believe everyone who's seen it will love and remember that, and I'll let Ed talk about it. Ed, why don't you talk about it?
Oh, good Lord. I was hoping you wouldn't put me on the spot about this film. I love this film, and I remember watching it over and over, but I don't remember a lot of it. But I had to give it props because I remember this is one of the films I remember watching a lot. I'd probably watch it with my siblings and all that, and I saw it many times. But let's see. I'm trying to remember some of the jokes. How do you make a Viking laugh? I think was one. Oh gosh, you put me on the spot here. I can't think of any jokes. But anyway, it's a great film. It's a lot of fun. And History of the World Part 2, absolutely unwatchable, terrible. Wouldn't even give it the time of day. Wouldn't run over it with my car. But History of the World Part 1's classic.
Nice. Moto Viper, anything to add on History of the World Part 1?
Oh, the guy that raises the feather in front of the queen was hilarious. And I'll leave it at that.
Right. The jig is up and gone. Digital. How about you, sir?
Ed, I cannot believe you forgot. The Lord has sent you these 15 crack.
Oh crap! Yes. I still quote that. My brain must be asleep or something.
But with Mel Brooks, it's either hot or it's not.
Right.
And
he said.
Thankfully, he had more hot movies than not movies, and this was one of the hot ones. At least for me, that's my opinion. Your mileage, of course, may vary.
Nice.
I think everybody agrees. This is one of his better movies.
Oh, absolutely. Curtis M3 doesn't appear to be here right now, so why don't you go next?
Yeah, I want. It was a really funny movie. Even at first, I didn't get some of the jokes, but then I got them later. I had a friend, and his dad got all these type of movies every time. So that's how I got to watching stuff like that. So the first time we watched it, I laughed at some of it, but some of it I didn't get. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, but great movie. Great movie.
Right. M3's still not here, so I'll just say another one of the best jokes in the movie was he goes to the unemployment window, and she says, "What do you do for a living?" He says, "Stand-up philosopher." And she goes, "Oh, you're a bullshit artist. Did you bullshit this week?" No. Did you try to bullshit this week? Yes. Anyways, great joke. Moving on. That is a rank of C because only 2 people picked it. So the next film is I think it's our last C rank movie. I could be
There we
wrong,
go.
but this is Ed and Digital Caveman both picked the Cannonball Run. So why don't we start with Digital Caveman on this one?
Okay. First of all, I know you guys probably get sick of hearing me talk about pairing Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise together is just gold. And the rest of this cast is great as well. Like Roger Moore and Farrah Fawcett and Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I mean, there's just so many people, and it's hard to think of everybody, And Barbeau and Jackie Chan. Was Jackie Chan in this one and the second one?
Yes, he was.
But I
Jackie
remember
Chan
he was
is in this one.
so, and just I mean, just it's comedy gold. And if you have never ever seen this movie, I mean, just watch it. Just even if you just watch like the credit scenes where they cut stuff out. Any movie that has those cut scenes with Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise, it's insane.
Nice. Ed, how about you, sir?
What the hell is wrong with you people? Don't y'all know humor when you see it? This film's a freaking classic. This should have been at the top of everybody's chart. Anytime Dom DeLuise is on camera, it's just a laugh a minute. And you put him, like Caveman said, with Burt Reynolds, you can't lose. They riff off of each other so brilliantly. He's the straight man to Dom DeLuise's just outlandish humor. And this is a classic. And even to put in perspective, Dean Martin as a priest, if anybody knows the Rat Pack, that's hilarious casting right there. That's a reason to watch it. Farrah Fawcett, come on, she was all that. And this was post Lee Majors, and she was so awesome. Sammy Davis Jr., of course, part of the Rat Pack, hilarious as well. Jamie Foxx, I forgot, was in this, and Terry Bradshaw. Yeah. Terry Bradshaw, I think, is hilarious. Mel Tillis was very funny back then. I mean, this is like a greatest hits of comedy. I wouldn't say comedy legends, but just people that just gelled really well. And
That era.
it's fantastic. Now, did this have the elephant in it, or was that Cannonball Run 2?
No, that was Smokey and the Bandit.
Smokey and the Bandit
That was
2.
Smokey and the Bandit. Okay, it's for me. This feels like a Smokey and the Bandit unofficial film in a way, and it just needs Jerry Reed in it. But fantastic film. Love it.
Moto, how about you, sir?
Oh, absolutely love this movie. Great movie. Every team was different, hysterical, well written, well acted. Had me rolling on the floor. I even got some of the adult jokes at the time. Great stuff. And to add to the end credits casting of the bloopers, oh yes, those were the best.
Oh yeah.
Curtis, anything to add on Cannonball Run?
Yeah, everything Ed said and everybody else said, and I felt like the entire cast had a fun time working together. I think that's why they all clicked.
They did.
And what was that? The real tall guy. He played in one of the James Bond movies as Jaws.
Oh, the Billy Madison dude.
Yeah, he was in it.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Don't know his name.
I can't think of his name either. But yeah, that's basically all I have to say about it. It's just a great, funny film.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I pretty much agree with what everybody here said. I just wanted to add that one of my favorite scenes in it is when Adrian Barbeau and Farrah Fawcett think they're going to get out of the ticket by boosting up their titties, and then the cop is a woman.
Yes,
so good, so good.
Before we move on,
Might work today.
I just remembered Jamie Farr was in this movie as well.
Yeah,
and
he's the
everybody remembers him from MASH, but Jamie Farr was in this as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, M3 is back. M3, do you want to say anything about Cannonball Run before we move on?
I know I seen it one time. It had some good comedy in there. I only saw it one time, and I was younger. It was like something that I watched, but I couldn't say anything specific about it. No, I just remember it's cool.
All right, then we shall move on.
It had a lot of Bud Light in it.
The Cannonball Run had 2 people voting for it.
Yeah.
Therefore, it gets a rank of C. Moving on, the next film. First film picked by 3 people.
Oh wow, no way.
Ed, M3, and Curtis Schultz all picked Friday the 13th Part 2, the first appearance of Jason Voorhees as the killer.
Wow.
Why don't we go ahead and start with Curtis this time?
Oh man, I saw this, and I was like, it was, to me, it was way cooler than some old lady dressed in a sweater killing people. But even the sack for the mask, the potato sack or whatever that was, corn sack, was even scary. I mean, it was the film before he got his hockey mask, but the kills in it were good. I used to know the kill count. I don't know what the kill count is anymore, but it was, it was a fun horror movie for me and scary at the same time, But yeah, that's all I got to say about that. So
Nice. If you guys want the kill count, I highly recommend Dead Meats on YouTube. M3.
I'm a pretty good Jason fan. All these movies mesh together until they start getting really radical and kind of funny.
yeah,
The first 1 and 2 were kind of like more to home, scary. They weren't far fetched and shit, right? So, but this one right here, the blonde girl with the short hair and shit, and that's all I'll say. I'll stop blabbing. I don't remember a lot of it, but it's just Jason movie, so I fucking love it.
Awesome. M3 will stop blabbing, and hopefully whoever that is will stop pinging.
Yeah.
Ed, you're next.
It's not me, Dad. I didn't do it. Let's see. Friday the 13th Part 2. I agree with M3. A lot of these movies run together for me.
oh
And,
come on, stop paying.
Stop pinging. Anyway, but to see Jason in this one, I always think it's the first one, but I forget it's the second one, and it's just hilarious. It's hilarious. No, it's not hilarious. Yeah, I'm laughing at y'all. It's a great horror classic, and I love it. It's just it scared the shit out of me, and it still kind of does. So I love it. Before the movies got stupid, they were scary.
Nice. All right, Moto Viper, anything to add on Friday the 13th Part 2?
Yeah, the one-eyed masked Jason Voorhees who finally shows his face at the end, all disfigured and fucked up. But it did some great classic kills in the movie. Again, it was just proof that horror movies were going to flood the 80s and what's yet to come until around 84, 85. We'll get there, how the movie industry changed. But right now, Friday the 13th Part 2 had been top in the box office for the year.
I believe you're correct. Digital Caveman, anything to add on Friday the 13th Part 2?
Was this the first one was the one that had Kevin Bacon in it, right?
Yeah, he got an arrow through the neck.
Well, then, really, all I gotta say about this one is one eye hole tater sack Jason, and that's it. They all kind of blend together as far as the creative kills, and this one he's wearing a tater sack in this one so it sets it off a little bit than
Yep.
after 3.
Yeah, for me,
Became famous.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm done now.
All right,
Let's not forget sorry to interrupt you, Prophet, but the little homage cabin to his mom with her head with all the fucking candles.
Yeah, to me, the kill that sticks out the most in this one was the guy who insisted on walking around on his hands. You just knew that guy was getting split from the anus to the neck. But yeah, I mean, to me, this is the Friday the 13th movies. Call me a spoiled sport or a downer, but none of them are ever making it on my list. That to me, they're just typical slashes, and I like a little more creativity in my kills. But everybody else seems to like it. So if you want to watch it, I'm sure it's easy enough to find somewhere. But this was picked by 3 people, and that gives it a rank of B. Our next B rank film is Heavy Metal,
Yeah.
picked by me, Moto, and M3. And Frank, we're gonna let you start out on this one here.
Okay, well, Heavy Metal is a giant. It's about this magical green sphere called the Lochnar, and it speaks of several stories about this. And golly, the music alone, guys, the soundtrack: Black Sabbath, Stevie Nicks, Devo, Cheap Trick, Journey, Grand Funk Railroad, Nazareth, Blue Oyster Cult, just amongst others. Van Halen, or Sammy Hagar, I should say, in the beginning, dude. It's just shit was great. Don Felder, the Heavy Metal soundtrack, and it took every story, and it felt like the Heavy Metal magazines. Again, just to put shit in perspective from my point of view, I was getting into heavy metal, Dungeons and Dragons, and fantasy movies. Conan the Barbarian was God to me. So to watch something like Heavy Metal was unbelievable. And the way that they used a lot of the what do they call the animation back then? The rotoscope?
Rotoscoping.
Yeah, that was very popular. Yeah, I mean the movie was just great. And it was one of those ones that came on real late at midnight on HBO. And I would watch it, and I would feel dirty, but felt good that I was watching it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100% on the music. I really enjoyed the fact that each different segment had its own animation style.
Mm-hmm.
Tarna, obviously I love Tarna. I have the figure along with her featherless chicken. I thought it was really interesting that John Candy played a bald black man in it. And one of my favorite bits in the entire thing is the 2 aliens flying the ship. And my favorite line in the entire movie is typical robot, man. First dirt chick we see in years, and he's got to make a play for her. Right before they busted out the space coke and poured it all over the floor and started snorting. But yeah, this movie, it's top tier. It's fantastic. It does feel exactly like the magazine.
Now,
and
real quick, go ahead. I don't want to cut you up, but I want to add to what you're saying to the scene that you're talking about.
No,
right
go
now.
ahead. Go ahead and add to it. Go ahead.
The green creature that you're talking about right now that busts out the football lines of coke. That is actually Ivan Reitman, who does the voice of that creature, who brought a lot of candy to the set to keep all the actors going.
And incidentally, the other alien was Harold Ramis.
Yay, Harold Ramis.
Right? M3, you also picked this film. Why don't you give us your 2 cents?
I've seen it about 4 or 5 times. It's great. You guys are really good on knowing all that, the music part of it, man. I love the music. That's one of the reasons why I watch it. And it's the way that they did this from the very start. It's got the fucking 57 Corvette fucking just floating through space with an astronaut. Fucking that badass song's going. He fucking lands on Earth, drives, fucking goes home, and then shit fucking gets real. And I like the fact they put it on whole different universes and probably galaxies and shit away from. They didn't put it on Earth. And it kind of tripped me out. I was like, whoa, this movie's jumping around. I like the taxi scene when the chick's in the back and he fucking blasts her with the fucking ray and shit from the ball. This movie's great, man. I really like it. That's all I got.
Digital, what have you got to add about Heavy Metal?
Yeah, I've seen Heavy Metal maybe once, and that was not when I was young. And great music. And I don't really remember a whole lot about it, and that's really all I've got.
All right, Ed, do you have anything to add about Heavy Metal?
I'm going to say something that ain't too popular, but I'm telling the truth, and y'all are all liars. This was a great spank bank movie back in the day for the lady in there. Come on now, this was a great movie. I was getting into all kinds of music.
9, bro.
Oh, I was 11, so I don't know if I knew what it was yet. I don't know if it was happening, but maybe it was later. That's too much information. But
Damn.
y'all shouldn't have invited me here if y'all didn't want to hear some truth. But anyway,
Preach.
the, the music in this is just phenomenal, and I probably didn't appreciate how good the soundtrack to this movie is. And the bad thing is, this was not on my list, and I remember hating the fact that I didn't put it on my list. I do not know how I missed it, but this would have possibly been one of my highest rated films. I did enjoy it for other reasons than I just said, other than that, but but it's just a great movie, and I like how it was, like y'all said, it was split up into different chapters, punctuated by different artists and different music, which real vast soundtrack of music. It was just so rock and roll. It was so heavy metal, and it just felt so rebellious, and it still holds up. And correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like they did a sequel to it. I don't know.
They did.
They did.
Yeah.
Okay.
They did Heavy Metal 2000, but it was nowhere near as good.
Exactly. This is so iconic. And I mentioned early in the show a show called Night Flight that used to come on USA Network.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Ed, you're over your time limit.
Well, give me just 1 second. I'll wrap it up. I promise. I've been very short the whole time.
Mr. President, Mr. President.
Okay, people understand this is important. But anyway,
I
Night
defer the rest
Flight.
of my time to
Night
him.
Flight is how I saw this film, and then probably later on HBO, because Night Flight would come on kind of late at night or midnight, late, I guess back then. And they played this all the time on there. It's a classic, and everybody should watch Heavy Metal. Thank you very much.
All right, Curtis. What anything to wrap up on Heavy Metal while Ed goes in the other room and spanks it to Tana?
Thinking motherfucker.
Anaconda don't want no.
Do it.
That's secretary, huh? I know what you're talking about.
Come
Yeah,
on now. Don't lie.
I thought this movie sucked. I didn't like the soundtrack. The animation was horrible. The story was
Typical white
horrible.
guy.
It sucked. It sucked balls.
Harold Ramis, man.
What?
Psych. I trolled you.
Guess.
It was you guys said it all, basically. I don't know what else to add to it. You guys said it all. There's nothing really more to say. It was just a really good movie. I advise people to watch it.
Right, and incidentally, that's why I'm mixing up the order this time, because Digital Caveman had that same problem last time. He went last every time and didn't get to say much because everyone was already said it.
Right.
So, with that being said, this had 3 people pick it, so it gets a rank of B.
Nice.
The next film on the list is Time Bandits, picked by 3 people, picked by me, Moto, and Curtis.
Love this movie.
And I'm actually kind of surprised this isn't on more people's list, but what are you gonna do? Curtis, since you went last time, we'll let you go first this time. Go right
Yes.
ahead and tell us about Time Bandits.
Time Bandits was great. Saw it on cable and was glued to the TV, man. It's about, time traveling little people and a kid. And the story is great. I don't want to spoil it for people if they ain't seen it, because it's a really good movie.
Spoil away.
And they go to
43 years old, man. Don't worry about spoilers.
they go to different times in like fantasy lands or something. I don't know, but there's like an evil guy who's kind of like Satan, but he's not. He's the guy from Tron, played great evil villain.
David Warner.
Yeah, it's just a great movie, and I'm gonna let you guys go because I know there's so much.
Moto, why don't you go next?
This Time Bandits movie, 9 years old, watching this in the theater was perfect for me. I totally related with the character Kevin, the main lead kid. Cool fact though is that it was actually financed by George Harrison of the Beatles. That's how much he believed in this movie. That's how cool it was. I mean, to me, it was one of the best fantasy movies for a young 9-year-old boy. It had everything in it.
Yeah,
And I could go on for another 20 minutes, but there's got to be other people to speak about it. But I can tell you that the story the evilness, the darkness of it, the way it ends, even makes you really, really like this movie as a kid.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, Frank. The kid was a great window into the film for young people watching it. I really loved the giant that's on the cover here, that they used the bellows to knock him out with drugs so they could get off his head. John Cleese as Robin Hood is just fucking hilarious. I mean, I love like the fact that like he would like give them treasure and then have his big dude knock them out. And like the big guy punches an old lady in the face. He's like, do we really have to do that? And the guy's like, yes, absolutely necessary. He's like, all right, on with it then. And he punches her out. Sean Connery, absolutely wonderful in this film. I kind of felt bad for the kid when the midgets dragged him off and didn't leave him in, ancient Rome with Connery's character. And again, like Curtis said, David Warner, one of the best 80s villain actors like in the history of 80s films.
Yes. I couldn't agree.
I'm going to pass it on to M3 from here. M3, what have you got to say about Time Bandits?
I haven't seen it, but would you guys compare it to Neverending Story?
No.
No. There's nothing you can compare to this. This is Terry Gilliam at his best.
Okay, I'll have to watch it.
Yeah,
you will, bro. You absolutely will.
Great movie.
Digital Caveman. How about you, sir?
Okay, I really wanted to put this one on my list, and I don't remember what knocked it out, because when I first ran across it on going through the movies of '81, I was like, okay, I got to get that one on there. But at the end, I think it missed it like by one. So if this had been a list of 11, it definitely would have made my list, and then I could have said it goes to 11. But great movie. I remember seeing this movie in the drive-in theater. I think it was the second of a double feature when I was a kid, and just the end of this movie made me hate toasters.
All right. For those not in the know, his parents get killed by a toaster. Ed, how about you?
That's the worst way to go, by a toaster. I don't know. I must have been asleep when I made part of my list, because I don't know how I didn't have Time Bandits on my list. But I realized this was a funny film, or a fun film, I should say. I remember enjoying it. I don't remember a lot about it, but it was a good film, and I should put it on my list. My bad.
Yeah,
and
it
Billy
is
Barty.
Fantastic. All right, so picked by 3 people. This also gets a rank of B. Moving on. This one was picked by 4 people. And this is the other stop motion movie I was talking about. Although after I said that, I realized that there were like 10 other movies with stop motion in them. But this was picked by Digital Caveman, Moto, myself, and Curtis. And we are going to let Digital Caveman lead us off this time.
Okay, what is not to love about Clash of the Titans? It's a shame that this was Ray Harryhausen's final movie in the fact that we didn't get anything else from Harryhausen after that. But what a crown jewel to end your career on and choose to end it on. And the Kraken monster in this thing was just amazing, and just the story of it really, that sucked me in. Just it's a great story, and I think it's a great take on all those classic myths having to do with Perseus and Andromeda and Zeus and Hera and Medusa, and it's a fantastic film. And if you've never seen this movie, shame on you. Shame.
Yeah, all right.
Dang,
Well, before we get to M3's shame, we're going to go ahead and let Curtis talk about it.
This is, I don't know, it's a great movie. I loved it as a kid. I couldn't, if it was on TV, if I was cutting through the TV and changing the channels and stuff, and that was, I stopped it automatically. It was fun. I like Greek history. I like any kind of history, but the Greek history in that, their stories or whatever. It's great. Medusa was freaking awesome. It was just it's a fun movie, and if you like the history stories of Greek mythology stuff, it's great.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I will say before I pass it on to Frank, anywhere that Curtis said history, replace that with mythology.
Yeah.
Frank, go right ahead.
I was gonna say it's great. It's another fantasy film, Greek mythology. Perseus is given by Zeus a helmet, shield, and sword to set him upon his destiny, and it plays out to save the young Princess Andromeda, and it's just great. I mean, the evil dude, gets his arm chopped off. I forget his name.
Calibos.
Calibos.
I mean, all the way through to Medusa. I mean, everything. I mean, it was just great. It was just another one of those fantasy movies that drew me into that Dungeons and Dragons era.
Awesome. Yeah, for me, Clash of the Titans, like this was one of my childhood favorites. I had most of the toys, everything but the Kraken. And I was always upset that I never had the Kraken, but what are you gonna do? Burgess Meredith as the mentor to Perseus was fantastic in the film. Hera, went on to play Professor McGonagall in the Harry Potter films of all things.
I was gonna say,
this movie, Calibos, amazing villain. The Medusa scene, like, oh my god, that scene is so.
Oh yes.
It gets the stress level up. You know what I mean? It's really excellent stuff.
I agree.
Ed, we'll go on to you, I believe, for this now.
All right. First, I got to stand on facts here, or business. 8:13, 12:27 a.m. Please replace On Golden Palm at Clash of the Titans. My mistake. Thanks, Ed. There's my text. But I still love you, Prophet. It's okay. On Golden Palm is still a great film. What can you say about this film that hasn't been said? This film is awesome. I love the little mechanical bird. I loved everything in here. I loved. I mean, this was so iconic. I've seen this film probably 100 times. This should have been voted on by everybody. This is a fantastic film. I even enjoyed the later sequels that they made. They're not as good as the original, but still good in their own right. But this is so classic. Yes, classic. This is so classic. I love it. It's a great film.
M3, have you even seen this?
Absolutely, 100%. I've seen it a lot of times. I love this movie. Everything about it. I'm with the mythology too, man. That shit's so fucking cool. And DFS said they couldn't remake it if they tried because it ran about 5 minutes ago. It ran through my head. They did try, right? And I would rather watch this one than the new one. This one is just, it's so good. You guys said everything, so there's no reason for me to say it. Perfect. It's a really good movie. I love it. But you guys said everything. And I didn't know they made a toy line, Prophet. If you had everything but the Kraken, that's dope, dude.
Wasn't Galactus like his half brother or some shit like that?
Well, Calibos was Hera's son.
That's what it was.
And when Aphrodite
Was that Harry Hamlin?
Yes, it was.
The big statue, the big statue, and her head falls off and shit.
Yeah, dude.
Tell me, or that she's more beautiful than me and shit.
And Prophet, I still have the Kraken. I've seen better days.
They had some medicine for that.
Yeah, I'm envious, man. I'm envious.
I'll have to bring it on one night and show you.
Tough acting.
Yeah, I've seen it, but I've never like seen it in person. But the Clash of the Titans voted on by 4, so it gets a rank of A. Moving on, the next A rank movie.
Here we go.
This is the movie where Dr. Loomis plays the president.
Yep.
Escape from New York, voted on by Digital Caveman, Moto, myself, and Curtis.
Yeah.
And we're gonna let Moto go first this time.
Oh my gosh, what can I say about this movie, bro? From the beginning to the end, Kurt Russell is a complete badass. He sets the stage for Metal Gear Solid. That's going to come in the future for us. He's out to save the president, and the president got ejected from this egg from a 747. He goes back in there, but they inject him in his neck with the fucking poison that says if you don't save his ass in 48 hours, consider yourself fucking dead. Adrian Barbeau is in it. God, I'm trying to think of the old man, or Ernest Borgnine.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then don't forget the Lord of Manhattan, or was it Brooklyn, who drove around that caddy with chandeliers and shit.
Isaac Hayes.
Yeah.
And then the guy that comes out of the fucking sewer. If you shoot
I
me,
believe that was Michael Biehn from Terminator.
that was
Mhm.
fucking
so.
amazing. And then not only did I see Adrian Barbeau's booby in Swamp Thing, but then the poor thing dies on the bridge and gets shots on the chest, and I see another little booby shot. Again, this is 9-year-old Junior. 9-year-old Frankie seeing this shit. So I was stoked. Plus the movie itself, just the storyline was great. And then once he does get that fucking piece of shit president out of there, what's he do? Snake Plissken style, baby. Fuck all y'all. And he erases the tape.
Nice. Digital, how about you? What have you got to say
Okay.
about Escape from New York?
First of all, I'm a little disappointed that 1997 got here and they didn't make New York a prison for like the worst people. But you know, other than that, John Carpenter and Kurt Russell, you know, when you put those two together, it's always great and it's a fun movie.
Unless
And,
you're
you know,
escaping from LA.
yeah. No, I enjoyed Escape from LA. too.
Surf the LA River.
Yeah. Yeah. No. My favorite out of LA is like when he goes before the Surgeon General of Beverly Hills, and it's Bruce Campbell.
Oh yeah. Oh god.
But
yeah.
you know, as far as this one, like the glider scene at the first, that's great. And then you know, anytime you get to see Ernest Borgnine in a film, you know, he might not be the greatest actor ever, but it's always fun to see Ernest Borgnine in something.
Very genuine.
And you know, just like Isaac Hayes as the boss. This is just a great, fun adventure action movie.
Nice. Curtis, how about you? Anything to say about it? Well, of course you do. You picked it. Talk to us about Escape from New York.
I loved it. They turned New York City or the whole island into a prison. And you know what? It was kind of scary to me. That whole scene where they started coming out from underground and they pulled that woman down. That was scary. It was like a zombie thing to me. And then that weird dude with the hair all spiked out, the blonde that was
Yeah.
what's his name?
Michael Biehn from the Terminator. He played Reese in the Terminator.
Oh, okay. That guy was creepy, man. And then, you know, like you had what was that, a Cadillac or a Lincoln that had chandeliers on it?
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Pimping.
It was a crazy movie, you know, and that was coming. Oh man, that was a great time for Kurt. And it was that movie I can watch over and over and over again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love this movie. I think it's great. I think the effects were fantastic for the time. All the miniature work they did in this film was top notch.
Yeah.
Isaac Hayes as the Duke of New York. You are a number one. Fantastic. Michael Biehn couldn't have played a more polar opposite role than what he did in Terminator as Reese. Like being the crazy dude with the weird hair was just nuts. Adrian Barbeau, knockout, absolute knockout. Kurt Russell couldn't be more he's never been cooler than he was as Snake Plissken. And to comment on what Digital said earlier about he was upset that New York wasn't turned into a prison. Well, I say it actually is a prison. We just can't see the bars. And I will pass it on to M3. M3, anything to say about Escape from New York?
I've seen Escape from LA most recently, but these movies this type of movie is good, and I have no problem with it. I'll have to watch this one too.
All right, Ed, you want to wrap us up on Escape from New York?
I kind of feel like in the 80s, New York looked pretty trashy, and they had crime and everything else. I'm sure it's much better now, right? But this is what I imagined in 1997 New York was going to be like, and it's pretty much M3 can probably tell us this is what LA looks like. Escape from LA, but yeah, this is Kurt Russell's a great actor, very underappreciated. Damn near anything he does is great, from The Thing to we could go on. He's such a great actor. He's so good, and this is just such a dystopian movie. You got Michael Biehn in it. I'm a massive Terminator fan, so much love to Terminator Reese. So yeah, great film, classic, love it.
I had no
Nice.
idea that was Michael Biehn until tonight.
Yeah.
That's exactly who it is. All right,
And,
so
and I forgot to mention Lee Marvin.
Oh, in the beginning
that's
and
right.
end? Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy who sends Pliskin in.
Yeah,
That's right.
All right, so this was voted by 4 people, so it gets a rank of A.
Not bad, not bad.
The next film on our list is also A ranked. It also had 4 people vote for it. This was Digital Caveman, Ed, myself, and Curtis all voted for Excalibur. In my opinion, the very best telling of the once and future king. You get to see Helen Mirren like in her prime, naked, like completely naked. And the way it all starts out is Merlin, who is probably the best acting performance in the entire film. Arthur's father, Uther Pendragon, really, really, really wants to fuck another man's wife. So they lure the man and his army away from the castle, and then Arthur sneaks in the guise of the man and basically rapes her. And she gets pregnant with Arthur, and Merlin comes and takes the baby away. And that baby grows up to be Arthur Pendragon, the legendary king of Camelot and the leader of the Round Table. And the whole movie's about the quest for the Grail, and I am now approaching my 2 minutes. So I will pass it on to Ed. Why don't you go next?
Yeah, there's an actor in here. I just had to look it up online. Gabriel Byrne. He was in a great show on HBO called In Therapy, which, if you haven't seen, is really good. He played Uther Pendragon, I think it was, and such a good actor. There's so many good people in this film. Helen Mirren, you can't go wrong with anything. Mostly anything she's in. She's just great. This was a fantastic film. I loved Excalibur. It is. I agree with you, Prophet. It's probably the best telling of the King Arthur story. I can watch this thing over and over again. I remember watching it many times in the 80s growing up, and fantastic film. Fantastic all around.
All right, Curtis, how about you, my friend?
Great movie. Even as a young kid, I was so interested in this movie. It was freaking amazingly done, well written, well planned out. And I think after doing all this stuff here, I think, that's what's missing from a lot of movies now is this type of acting, this type of planning out and writing things out and taking your time, not just rushing shit. But this movie is, to me, it's perfect all the way around. All the way around, it's a perfect movie. I suggest people watch it if they haven't. That's all I got.
All right, Digital Caveman, what do you have to say about Excalibur?
Fantastic movie. Everybody, hit the nail on the head when this is the best King Arthur movie ever made.
Mhm.
You know, they keep trying to make King Arthur movies, and this one's more realistic, and I don't care that Romans and pagans. I don't care about all that crap. I want to see knights in armor, Excalibur just butchering people, and the Knights of the Round Table, and Mordred and Merlin and Arthur, and this Liam Neeson's in this movie, Patrick Stewart's in this movie, along with everybody else that was mentioned previously. And fantastic movie, one of my favorite movies to watch ever.
Nice. Yeah. Incidentally, Liam Neeson and Patrick Stewart, this was both of their theatrical cinematic debuts.
I think we need a watch party on this.
Moto Viper, anything to say about Excalibur?
Yeah, absolutely love this movie. Loved it. Again, Dungeons and Dragons. It wasn't on my list because it was, I hate to say it, but it was boring. It was a great story, but it was long and drawn out. I would remember on Sunday mornings, either I was in my parents' bed with a remote or my grandparents' bed with a remote on Showtime watching this movie and loving it. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it was rather long and drawn, and just it took forever to conclude this story. But I'm not gonna downplay it. I'm not gonna shit on it. Don't get me wrong. It's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
It just further fed my Dungeons and Dragons fetish. But at the same time, it was more of a fucking love story than it was kill the bad guy.
I don't disagree with the long and drawn out part, especially once the quest for the Grail starts. It does slow down quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
M3, what do you have to say about Excalibur?
Another movie that I just wrote down. I'm going to start writing these down because other movies I need to see is Time Bandits, Escape from New York, Excalibur, shit that you guys really like.
God damn, you're missing out.
I haven't seen it.
All right. Well, since M3 is behind, I guess the king is without his sword and the land is without a king.
Yes, M3.
And this is 4 people chose it, so it is ranked A. Next up on the list, we have the one movie that 5 out of 6 people picked, the other werewolf movie on the list. This is obviously going to piss Frank off because we all chose this over The Howling.
Yeah, that movie sucks.
But we're going to go ahead and go right down the line, starting with Curtis on this. Curtis, An American Werewolf in London.
There's a bad moon on the horizon. I saw this and I didn't see when I first saw this, I didn't see the beginning. I just happened to walk in to the living room where it was playing, and it was the scene where he's turning into the werewolf. I was hooked. I was like
his balls are super hot.
Yeah, he's like, and his hands start stretching out, and the fingernails start.
Yeah.
Oh my god, amazing! I never seen nothing like that before, and I was just like, And then I thought it was a pretty good story. It was a bit of a love story as well, and the wolf itself was badass. It's like, that's not the wolf man, but that's a wolf. We're a wolf. I didn't know the difference at the time. So. But that werewolf was mean looking. It was great. And then you find, he ends up killing his best friend, and his best friend like haunts him. And he gets every different time he sees him, he's like more rotted out and shit. It's crazy. Good makeup and good effects. I love this movie.
Yeah, it did win an Academy Award for the effects, and I do think that werewolf transformation is amazing. Yeah. But one thing I really enjoyed about the movie was the way that they approached the curse, right? Because like his friend that he killed couldn't rest in peace until the werewolf that killed him was dead,
right,
or freed from the curse. The love story between him and the nurse, like, excellent. And the way the townspeople like were so like standoffish with them when they arrived and stuff, it's like, you people are assholes. You know there's a wolf out there and you kick them out anyways. Like, you people suck. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the story of this movie. I thought it flowed really well, and that werewolf transformation won Academy Award for best effects. It's just in my opinion, top notch. I love The Howling, but I like this a little more. M3, why don't you tell us what you thought about American Werewolf in London?
Naked nurses. Sorry.
M3, you're muted.
Thank you. I like this movie a lot. I've seen it more than probably 6 or 7 times, and it's just great. I love that fucking wolf transformation scene, of course. Just it's a good storyline, and it brings you back like Michael Jackson and when he was doing all that shit he was doing and stuff like that with his video Thriller. You probably could have played Thriller in that seat where he was changing into the werewolf.
No.
But dude, that movie's pretty good, and the interaction between the two friends, even though one's dead now, and the whole cursing, you're right too. That's why I like The Mummy with Tom Cruise. That dude's just like, hey man, you're cursed, and follows around through the movie. That's great. That's all I got to say. It's good.
Nice. Digital, anything to add?
Okay. 6-year-old me, my only, like werewolf experience at the time was like Universal werewolf movies. So I see the ad for this on TV, and I'm like begging my parents, oh, we need to go see this werewolf movie. Werewolves are cool. We need to go see it. So they gave in. They took me to see it. And, like within like 10 minutes of it, we were leaving that theater and going to like a kid-friendly movie because it scared the ever-loving shit out of me. And that is my main memory of this movie, is that it just scared the fucking shit out of me.
Wow.
Nice. Ed, anything to add?
Yeah, the poster pretty much says it on there. When you look at the poster, it says the monster movie, because it really was. 11-year-old me was scared to death. M3 brought up a point I was going to bring up. We'd have no Thriller video, best of all time, by Michael Jackson, if he hadn't seen American Werewolf in London, because he sought out John Landis, who wrote this. He wrote it like in 1978, but finally he tried to get Albert Broccoli, who did the Bond films, to be a producer. Yeah, and Bond Broccoli passed on the film, but Michael Jackson saw this and he's like, man, I got to have John Landis and his team. And this also won, I think you touched on it, the first Academy Award for Best Makeup. It was the inaugural one of that. And it won, I saw here, the 1981 Saturn Award for Best Horror Film. It's a cult classic and everybody likes this film. The transformation, we've never seen anything like that to me, and it still is the best. And I'm not a horror film guy, but I recognize and respect this film for how great it was.
All right. Well, to counter what you just said, Frank, why don't you unleash your hatred?
It's not so much hatred, because this was number 10 on my list. And the number 10, the reason why it was number 10 on my list is because of the effects, the costume art, the ripped flesh from his friend, the guy he killed at the zoo. But when the bobbies were surrounding him at the end, that shit was weak. It was just weak because I was so used to The Howling at that point. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Great special effects. The story is kind of acting is kind of Now that wolf transformation scene is good, but when you act like your balls are on fire and your fucking spine increases 6 inches, doesn't really tell me anything. I want to see that thumping blood vessel. I want to see that metamorphism, and it shows the head stretch from a mouth to a muzzle to a dog. But Howling was the first one to do that. So to me, that was just a repeat. The story in between the special effects was just another just another story. And I don't mean to sound crass. I respect the movie. I love the movie. When he's doing his homework and his sister and dad are in the living room and they're watching the Muppet Show and the neo-Nazi fucking werewolf show up, start blasting everybody and shit, fucks him up. When he has a dream within a dream, fucks him up. That's cool. The more decrepit his friend becomes is cool, but it just wasn't the same. I didn't get scared of this movie. I'll put it to you that way. This movie didn't scare me. This movie was a watch and see how it ends. Where all the other werewolf movies were like, holy shit, I got to go to the bathroom.
All right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for having seen like this first. I think that because The Howling is a great movie. I might have put it ahead of this if I had seen it first. But
Absolutely.
The transformation in particular, they made a good job of making it look super painful. So everyone in the chat, if you haven't seen this movie, give it a watch. But please don't mistake it for American Werewolf in Paris. You'll be highly disappointed.
Yeah.
All right. And this is an S-rank movie. We only have one movie left tonight, folks. And I think by its absence so far, you can all guess what it is. It is the movie that every single one of us picked. It is Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm going to go ahead, and since DC had to go last every time last week, I'm going to let him go first on this week.
Okay. My brother got to go see this movie before I did, and he just raved and raved and raved. And this is my younger brother, and he wouldn't shut up about it. So I had to beg my parents, hey, I want to go see this movie now. I don't remember why he got to go see it and I didn't. But oh my God, what a ride this movie is! It's the first Indiana Jones. It's the best Indiana Jones, and the villains in this movie were great, at least to me. And I love the fact that I didn't know at the time, but learned, many years later about the scene with the Cairo swordsman. And that day, Harrison Ford had the flu the day they were shooting that scene. And, the guy comes out and he's swinging a sword around, and Indiana Jones pulls out his pistol and just shoots the guy just nonchalantly. That was an ad-lib thing by Harrison Ford because he just felt like crap and really didn't want to be there shooting that day. And, Karen Allen, and then, at the end, Tot's melting face and, just this, I don't know where I can't start and I can't end because it's just everywhere, because this is such a great movie.
Yes.
Agreed.
And I hope I left y'all something to talk about.
100%.
Oh, you did. I'll say the stunt work on this, absolutely amazing. They actually dragged the stuntman underneath the truck. Fantastic. The big fight on the plane, fantastic. Karen Allen, fantastic. Harrison Ford, fantastic. Belloc, amazing villain. You talked about the ad lib on the gunfight scene, but there were quite a few things like that, because that's just the kind of actor Harrison Ford was.
True.
He was the kind of guy who was like, I don't think that makes sense, man. Let's do it this way, and they just listened. In Empire Strikes Back, the I love you, I know scene was ad lib.
Mm-hmm.
And just he's shooting his left titty, bro. Come on.
Yeah. So this movie it was probably my absolute favorite movie as a kid. I had all the action figures, and this is that second action figure that I bought that had bending knees. It was the Indy that came with the horse.
Mm-hmm.
And he had the whip slinging action. He had the spring in his arm, so he had the whip slinging action. It was just amazing. Hasbro recently did a reproduction of it, so if you really wanted that classic retro style figure, it's available right now for pretty cheap. But man, the opening scene of this, where they get betrayed, where Indy gets betrayed by Alfred Molina in his debut role.
Mm-hmm.
The first movie he was ever in. Just so good in every way. Like there's
That was-
nothing negative I could say about this film at all. I love the bit where he like dives off and somehow doesn't drown while holding onto a submarine's periscope for like
That
hundreds
wasn't-
of miles through the ocean. Like, come
Alpha
on,
Marina
man.
wasn't Temple of Doom.
Ridiculous. All right, so we'll go ahead and no, he was in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So yeah, he was in the opening scene. He's the guy that goes into the temple to get the idol with Indy.
Yeah, Raiders
winds
of the
up
Lost
getting
Ark is
speared
one
on
with the
the
rolling boulder and shit.
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right, so Frank, why don't you go ahead and go next?
Oh, I'm sorry, brother. But yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark was great, man. It was I didn't see this one in a theater or anything like that. The first one I saw was Temple of Doom, and then made me go to the VHS store and rent this one to watch it. That's pretty good. You know, I liked it. It was indie, it was adventure, and it's one of those things that made you feel vital as a kid in 1981. You know what I mean? Like you could take on the bad guy, and good will always persevere over evil, as long as you believe and you fight. You know. So yeah, I mean, it was a good movie. It was a good movie. The end had me a little fucked up. You know.
All right. Curtis, why don't you go ahead and go next?
Yeah, it was I didn't see it till like I think almost 2 years after it came out. And I saw the second one first as well.
Yes.
But my friend had the VHS of that, and like he started watching it like every time we were over. That's all we did. And it was really I like parts of this one better than the second one. And I thought this one was more gory almost, because there is gore in these Indiana Jones movies. And yeah, the whole cast was really great, you know, sure beats the last one that came out.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, a steaming pile of rubber dog shit beats the last one.
Yeah.
Ed, what have you got to say about Raiders?
Oh my gosh, what can you say that hasn't been said? You touched on something I was literally going to say. Like Caveman said, the shooting the guy with the swords, and how Harrison just ad-libbed, you know, pulling out the gun and shooting them. And I was going to reference Empire Strikes Back, where he says, you know, Leia says, "I love you," and he goes, "I know." It makes me wonder why Harrison Ford wasn't a director at some point, because he has good direction, you know. And this film could have easily had Tom Selleck play Indiana Jones. He was scheduled to be, but it didn't work out. I think there were conflicts probably with Magnum starting up,
Yeah.
and all that. And so things happen exactly how they're supposed to, and it did. And oh my gosh, this movie's so incredibly iconic. It's Lauren Kasdan, I think, wrote the screenplay or co-wrote it with Spielberg. You know, and he directed Empire. So, you know, this is like movie royalty. This is like what our as geeks, this is one of the holy grail, if you will, of movies, of genre of movies. This was George Lucas and working with Steven Spielberg and recapturing those Errol Flynn type of morning serial movies you'd see in the theaters. And it just it was so retro and so new and so fresh at the same time. And yeah, the last one sucked all kinds of nuts, but this one was just perfect, you know. And they should have stopped after the one with
Crusade.
Sean Connery. Thank you, Crusade. That should have been the end. To me, that's the end of Indiana Jones. The other one's Crystal Skull and Uranus or whatever it's called, and the last one just doesn't exist. And this is a perfect film. It's just perfect.
Yeah, the whole doesn't existing is how I feel about the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
M3, to avoid your face melting, keep your eyes shut and tell us what you thought about Raiders.
Yeah, that's funny that you said that, because in my mind I'm like, okay, you guys nailed everything. But a couple of my favorite scenes were when that guy's when I know you said his name a minute ago, but Yeah, his face.
Oh
melted.
no, yeah. Well, Belloc's head explodes. Toth's space melts along with
Yeah.
the German soldier.
Okay, yeah. So him and his face melts. So I watched a video of when they built that thing out of crayon wax, and they fucking they did it, and they made it beautifully, and then fucking lit it on fire. Fucking this is like fucking shit was dope, dude. That movie had a lot of that stuff, and just the fact that they Indiana Jones is always like a there's like a Greek mythology. There's also like a American mythology, which happens to be here, or I say it that way, the way I say it, but like biblical stuff, right? So the Ark is Ark of the Covenant and shit, and there's always like these passages and little things that he's reading, and especially
What's that Nicolas Cage series?
National Treasure.
Yeah.
The Knights Templar.
There've been a lot of copycats.
That's good shit, though.
Yeah.
Right, the Knights Templar and the next one. I like all the Indiana Jones ones, Indiana Jones movies. Excuse me, I like them all. Even the last one, it didn't bother me. I mean, I get why people hate it, but like totally. But I just wanted to see it for an Indiana Jones movie, and it was like, okay, that was like fine. But yeah, this one tops it off along with everything else you guys said. 100%.
Right, nice. Yeah, see, there were a couple things that I had left out because I went second, and I wanted to leave things for other people, and I was surprised that they weren't in there. Like my favorite bit where Toth pulls out the metal bars on the chain, and you think he's about to torture Marion with it, but he just hangs up his coat. And my favorite line in the whole movie, my favorite exchange, was where Indy tells Belloc, "It's a shame the Jovitos don't know you like I do," and Belloc goes, "Yes, you could warn them if only you spoke Jovitos." Like just great shit. But that's our list, and Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark is top tier, the only one voted by every single person, the highest S-ranked movie of 1981. And that's our list for the day, folks. We're going to be back in 2 weeks doing 1982. And trust me, as the 80s go on,
it's gonna be awesome.
You're going to see a lot more division. I think, because there's a lot more to choose from. That probably means there's going to be more D-ranked movies because there'll be more things that only one person picks, and that's just because of there'll be a plethora of things to choose from as we go on. Now, don't get me wrong. I think every year we'll still have a movie that gets picked by everyone, at least one movie, right? But thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm Prophet Director, and you could find my channel at the Prophet Director's channel. You could find me on Instagram at PD Destro 1973. And why don't we go down the list and everybody tell everyone who you are one last time, and we'll wrap things up. Curtis, go ahead.
I'm Curtis Schultz, and you can find me at the
At Tony the Tiger's house.
At Tony the Tiger.
Yeah, you could find him under a bridge asking people riddles to cross.
Yeah. You can just find me here on YouTube or Instagram under the name. Go next.
M3, where can they find you?
Right here in my house. Over here. Right. No, I'm
all right. What's the address?
Yeah, it's well, you know my address. I think. Well, almost everybody here knows my address. But
here, I'll put it in chat.
YouTube is like where I like to hang out. You can find me at Kurt's fucking Backstage. You can find me at fucking this fucking show right here, Halloween Bangers, and
fucking going on.
Free Live 405 podcast.
Yeah, man.
For some fucking good conversations every Wednesday at 6 my time.
And his YouTube channel is M3 Reviews. All right, Digital Caveman.
Well, I am the Digital Caveman, and you can find me on youtube.com/@Digital Caveman with 2 N's, just like it's spelled on the screen. Although you probably can't see it all small like that. I have trouble seeing that small stuff too.
That's what she said.
Also on Instagram a lot.
Let me help with that a little bit.
And yeah, that's better. That's better. Instagram as well at Digital Caveman, just a lowercase d, otherwise spelled the same way.
You guys can put it in the chat too if you want.
And so that's where you can find me. I've passed 800 episodes, regular episodes. We just did a live on that. If you missed it, go back and watch it.
Hell yeah.
Fantastic. Ed, where can they find you?
Oh, I'm busy being a smartass over here. I forgot to push my button. I'm not afraid to put my ugly mug on the camera. You can find me at Geek Home World Podcast. It's in the chat there, youtube.com/@geekhomeworld4248. On X or Twitter, it's Geek Home World. Instagram, it's Geek Home World. So I think you see a pattern there. This has been a great. Thank you, Prophet, and everybody for being here and let me be part of this. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'm really trying to build my YouTube channel, and the subs do make a difference. And all of y'all watching our content, and I got a lot of good fun things coming. And I'll pass it to the next person. Thank you.
Moto, anything to say to the chat before we call it a day?
You can't find me anywhere because I don't give a fuck about social media. But you can always catch me either talking with Kurt, with Prophet, Pack, or of course my cousin M3. When you want to hear some good shit, some good information, some juicy bits, that's when you want to listen. But other than that, I really got nothing. I don't really give two shits about social media.
Well, all right. Rob, just to thank the people in the chat real quick. Rob78, Mark Cosplay, DFS was here, OG Skywatch, Brian King. I know Casual Toy Chat was here earlier. Let's see. Who else? M3's friend Corey was here earlier. I believe Bigby was here earlier. Everyone in the chat, thanks for coming. I believe Bull 80 was here. Thank you, Bull, for showing up to this. Much obliged to you. And Curtis, you seem to have one last thing you want to say before we wrap it up. So go right ahead, sir.
I did. I forgot to say this coming Saturday, a week from today, will be Halloween Bangers. It will be happening season 3.
Oh shit, for real?
Yeah. And then the following Saturday will be at 1982 for the movies.
What time is that, Curtis, for people listening? Halloween Bangers.
Halloween Bangers will be 9:15, unless you guys need a little bit more time, or the people that are on Halloween Bangers need a little bit more time.
For all
I keep telling you, brother, if you want people to show up at 9, you tell them it's 8:30.
Yes, it's 7:30. But no, yeah, we're gonna go for 9. So if you have something coming up, let me know, like early that day or something like that. But yeah, so for everybody, thanks for coming. And do you have an outro, Prophet?
There's my outro.
Well, hang on. Let me go ahead and mimic Frank's outro. There you go.
There you go.
Fuck y'all. We're out.
You read my mind, brother.
Laters.